In the director's office, Vic Liu barked an order. Doug, send the script and the shooting location to Leo Flynn. Tell him to be here tomorrow at 9 sharp. The staffer named Doug nodded and scurried off to contact Leo. Vic opened a fresh pack of Marlboros and pulled one out, but before he could light it, his phone buzzed on the desk. He glanced at the screen, an unknown number. He didn't think much of it. He stuck the cigarette between his lips, swiped to answer the call, and fumbled for his lighter. Click! A small flame flickered to life. The call connected. Vic took a long drag, settling back in his chair. Yeah? Who is this? Asher Vance. I asked what you want. Not for your name, Vic said, a humorless chuckle escaping his lips. He couldn't be blamed for his irritation. He got calls all day, half of them from damn telemarketers trying to sell him a condo in Florida or an extended car warranty. He was sick of it. Any unknown number that wasn't a referral from his circle was automatically filed under annoyance in his mind. Oh, it's nothing much, Asher replied, his voice maddeningly casual. I'm just calling to audition for the male lead in that new project with Lena and... Vic almost choked on his smoke. Huh, kid, I don't know where you got your information, but I've already got my guy. He took another drag. This isn't some role you could just pick up, you know? It's not for some third-rate actor or a catalog model. And even if it were, there's only one part, and it's taken. Got it. Asher sounded genuinely confused. When did I say I was a third-rate actor? Vic's eye twitched. So you're a model, then? Of course not. Asher wasn't about to admit to something he'd never done. Sure, his physique would put most male models to shame, but he was a billionaire's son, a top-tier villain, who had time for side hustles. Besides, the money wouldn't even be worth his time. Asher's attitude was starting to piss Vic off. If you're not an actor and you're not a model, why the hell are you calling me? Are you screwing with me? Are you screwing with me? Asher shot back. I told you, I want to audition for the male lead. Then you can forget it. I don't care if your name is Asher Vance or... Wait, Vic froze. Did you say your name is Asher Vance? Yeah, I said that at the beginning. Vic's expression turned strange. He took a deep, shaky drag from his cigarette as a wild idea began to form in his mind. The Asher Vance? For Vance Corporation? No, it couldn't be. The guy had more money than God. Why would he need to audition for a movie? Besides, rumor had it he was obsessed with Serafina Hayes. There was no need to go through all this trouble just to get close to Lena, and a guy at his level had 1,000 other ways to do that. Vic tried to reassure himself, but Asher's next words made the director's world shrink to the size of a pinhead. That's me. Do you need me to confirm my identity? Vic's heart dropped. The cigarette slipped from his fingers and fell to the floor. His mind went completely blank. He was talking to the man himself, the national husband. The guy was a walking, talking headline, a viral sensation. It was no exaggeration to say that Asher Vance was sometimes more famous than A-list movie stars. Born into money? Check, obscene amounts of it. And to top it all off, he was ridiculously handsome. Those two qualities alone were something most people couldn't achieve in 1,000 lifetimes. Vic's breathing grew heavy. Then a switch flipped. The portly director's face lit up with excitement. The national husband, starring in his movie? The publicity would be insane. Asher's looks alone would pull in every teenage girl in the country. Even if the kid couldn't act his way out of paper bag. Even if he couldn't deliver a single line. It didn't matter. All he needed was for Asher to show up on screen and count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He could just read numbers, and they'd be golden. They'd hire a professional voice actor later to dub over his lines, maybe even mimic his voice. It was perfect. The whole whirlwind of thought took less than a minute. Vic scrambled to pick the still-lit cigarette off the floor. Mr. Vance. Mr. Vance, my deepest apologies. I was out of line. I didn't realize who I was speaking to. My mistake, truly. Asher was about to say it was no big deal when he heard a pained squeal from the other end of the line. Arg. Asher was baffled. He could hear Vic spitting and sputtering. What happened? Vic's voice was full of embarrassment. Apologies, Mr. Vance. I just tried to smoke the wrong end of my cigarette. Put the burning part in my mouth, you see. A true artist, Asher thought, utterly floored. The man was a natural dramatist. No wonder he discovered a talent like Lena and had his eye on a protagonist like Leo Flynn. The reverse smoking maneuver had left Asher genuinely impressed. It's fine, Asher said, steering them back on topic. Let's talk about the script. If you really can't give up the role, then forget it. I'm not the type to force anyone. Truthfully, Asher had no interest in acting. At most, he'd show up tomorrow, flash his face, and piss off the protagonist. Mission accomplished. On the other end, Vic practically shouted into the phone. No, the male lead isn't set in stone, Mr. Vance. Everything is negotiable. There was no way Vic was letting a walking publicity machine like Asher Vance get away. Leo Flynn was a nobody. Offending him was a small price to pay. He could throw some money at him later, or just burn the bridge entirely. He wouldn't just give Asher the role. He'd pay him the highest A-list celebrity rate if he had to. All right then, Asher said. Send me the script, and let me know when shooting starts. We start tomorrow morning. Vic said eagerly. And Mr. Vance, if you find memorizing lines difficult, we have ways to handle that. All you need to do is recite 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we'll take care of the rest. Asher's brow furrowed. Seriously? It was just a few stupid lines. Who'd this guy think he was? He might not have a photographic memory, but he wasn't an idiot. And with his built-in best actor buff, he could play anything. When had he ever been so insulted? Asher cleared his throat. Right. Well, we can talk about that tomorrow. Of course. Let me get your number so we can connect. I'll send the script over right away. Fine. A huge, undisguised grin spread across Vic's face. A small black singe mark now decorated the corner of his mouth, making him look ridiculous, but the portly director didn't care one bit. It's a deal then, Mr. Vance. You have to come tomorrow. Moshi. Been busy with exams lately, but vacation is coming soon. Updates for the other 2 books will be irregular. Happy New Year, everyone. Director Lou, you were looking for me? Doug, having been called back, looked confused. Vic Lou nodded. That's right. Did you send the script to Leo Flynn? Doug straightened up. Just sent it. Vic looked pained. Damn it, kid. Since when are you so efficient? Seeing the constipated look on his director's face and noticing the new black spot next to his mouth, Doug asked uncertainly, Director, did you eat something bad? Eat my ass. Vic snapped. He knew, logically, that Leo had been there first and Asher was the latecomer. But you didn't need a Ph.D. to figure out who had more power and a better family background. Vic took a breath and gave Doug a new assignment. Doug, go tell Leo Flynn that we have a new candidate for the male lead. And be tactful. You hear me? Don't be so direct. The burly assistant didn't ask questions. He just nodded. Yes, director. Vic gave him an appreciative look. Doug wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed, but he did what he was told. He was slow when things required creative thinking, but for a straightforward task like this, he was perfect. Vic didn't really care how well Doug handled it. He's the one who'd get an earful, not me. And if Leo showed up tomorrow raising hell, Vic had ways to deal with him. No sweat. Next, he called Lena and to give her a heads up. Lena's influence in the industry was just as significant as his. The last thing he needed was for her to back out of the project because of a last-minute casting change. That would be a real disaster. Thankfully, the call went smoothly. Lena's tone was calm. She showed no signs of strong disapproval. Vic breathed a sigh of relief. Just then, Doug walked back in, phone in hand. Director, Leo Flynn is furious. He says he wants to talk to you. He held up the phone. I've hung up on him 3 times, but he just keeps calling back. Should I block his number? Vic's good mood evaporated. He gaped at Doug's idiotic summary. Was that really how you framed the situation? Vic's face darkened, and he waved his hand dismissively, trying to signal Doug to wait while he figured out what to say. But Doug misinterpreted the gesture. He turned to the phone and said in his booming voice, "Stop calling. The director doesn't want to see you, and he doesn't want to hear your voice." Then, to Vic's utter shock, Doug hung up and promptly blocked Leo Flynn's number. The whole operation was brutally efficient. Vic's scalp tingled. His mouth was already open, the insults already forming. No, they were already spilling out. What the hell, Doug? What did you just do? I was just following your instructions, director. You call that following my instructions? Yes, director. Get out. Get out. You're fired. Don't come back tomorrow. Oh, Doug turned to leave. Just as he reached the door, Vic called out. Wait. Doug turned back. Vic was rubbing his temples, looking defeated. He waved his hand again. Forget it, forget it. That was a low blow, but better to rip the Band-Aid off quickly. Go back to work. Yes, sir. I'll work hard. Doug's face lit up. Just get out of my sight. For some reason, the mere sight of Doug now grated on Vic's nerves. Doug scrambled out of the office as if granted pardon. Vic pulled out another cigarette, lit it, and stared out the window. Mr. Flynn, it's not that I didn't want to give you a chance, he thought. It's just that, Mr. Vance offered too much. Even if Asher just read numbers on screen, people would still buy tickets to see him. In this business, 9 out of 10 movies lose money, and the 10th one loses a lot of money. Don't blame me. The film industry was like playing the lottery. Even famous directors had box office bombs. And sometimes, unknown newcomers directed masterpieces. Vic was just playing it safe. Even if the film wasn't great, he could use the hype around Asher to at least break even. A script's appeal on paper didn't guarantee an audience. In the end, the market decided everything. Meanwhile, Lena had already learned that Asher was vying for the male lead. From Cassie Lee, of all people. Her first thought was, this movie is dead on arrival. Letting a total amateur play the lead was like asking a kindergartner to solve a quantum physics problem. What a waste of a good script, she sighed. This was one of the main reasons she hated working with big investors. They swapped out talented actors on a whim, even changed the script based on their mood. To put it bluntly, money let them do whatever they wanted. During her call with Vic, she'd been tempted to call it quits right then and there. But Cassie had messaged her, urging her to give Asher a chance, promising an unexpected surprise. Lena thought about it. It was just one day. If it didn't work out, she could voice her opinion then. She'd rather pay a multi-million-dollar breach of contract penalty than have a legendary flop attached to her name. She remembered that disaster of a film, The New York Fortress, that had been a laughingstock of the industry a while back. The director had approached her. The script was good, but one look at the lead actor and she'd refused instantly. They could have offered her the world. She wouldn't have done it. And she'd been right. If she'd taken that role, it would have been a permanent stain on her career, an endless source of memes and savage roasts online. A truly terrible fate. The next morning, Asher was up bright and early. Today was the day he was supposed to get his face slapped, metaphorically speaking. He had to be prepared. It wasn't every day a plot point like this came along. His sister, Chloe, hadn't been around to bother him for the last couple of days. He figured she was busy with something. He hadn't pried. He couldn't be bothered to keep track of her antics. In reality, Chloe had been extremely busy, using the Vance family's resources to help Victor Stone clean up the mess in his past. Even the toughest guys can't just roll into someone else's turf and take over, but those foreign powers were no match for the Vance family on their home ground. The Vances were no pushovers. Just as Asher finished getting ready, his phone rang. It was Vic Lou. Mr. Vance, I've texted you the location. Right, got it. Asher checked the time. It really was early. He stepped out of the presidential suite. Anya Kuznetsov, dressed in a sleek, black tactical suit, was already waiting for him. As soon as she saw him, her eyes flicked to his lips. Asher instantly regretted the deal they'd made. But a man had to stand by his word. To avoid a sudden ambush later, Asher figured it was best to pay the noon installment in advance. Asher's lime green Ferrari, with Anya in the passenger seat, tore through the city streets toward the location Vic had sent. As for the script, he'd skimmed the first few pages and lost interest. It wasn't that the story was bad, but please, he was here to get his face metaphorically slapped by Leo Flynn, not to actually steal a role. Why bother reading the whole thing? Was he supposed to actually act? With a trembling hand and a thumping heart, Asher parked the garish Ferrari in front of a luxury apartment building in a wealthy district. This was prime real estate, the kind of place where high-powered executives and the moderately rich lived. It was for people who weren't quite on Asher's level of buying sprawling villas and penthouses on a whim. Asher and Anya walked toward the entrance. For burly men in black suits stood guard, along with the building's regular security. Apart from them, an attractive woman who looked to be in her early 30s was pacing anxiously, clearly waiting for someone. When she saw Asher and Anya approaching, she froze, her eyes widening in disbelief. She rubbed them, blinked, and confirmed she wasn't hallucinating. Then, her eyes lit up like high beams as she hurried over. You're Asher Vance, aren't you? Asher gave her a curious glance and teased. Is my star power fading? I can't believe there's still someone who doesn't recognize me. The woman shook her head so fast, it looked like a bobblehead. No, that's not at all. It's just, you're 100 times more handsome in person than in photos or videos. I wasn't sure it was really you. The photos and videos online were all old, from before he'd started cashing in his system's charisma points. He was handsome then, sure, but now he was on another level. And you are. Asher smiled. Seeing that smile, so bright, so charming, the woman's heart nearly melted. I'm the assistant director for this film. My name is Sophie Song. I'm here to meet you. She gestured for them to follow her inside. With her escorting them, the security guards and bodyguards simply nodded and let them pass. Asher mumbled to himself, affecting a clueless air. Sophie Song? So, are you going to sing me a song or something? Sophie, who had overheard him, blushed. She replied in a playfully chiding tone, Oh, Mr. Vance, you're terrible. Asher just laughed. As long as he wasn't embarrassed, someone else would be. As they walked, Sophie chattered away, completely ignoring Anya, who she'd pegged as a bodyguard or an assistant. For someone of Asher's stature to agree to be in a film, he could bring an entire entourage, and neither she nor Vic would say a word. Mr. Vance, do you work out? You look so solid, so manly. Her voice was full of genuine admiration. I've seen plenty of handsome pretty boys in this industry, but none of them can compare to you. They aren't even in the same league. I feel like you could make them cry with one punch. Sophie was usually a quiet person, but seeing Asher had turned her into a chatterbox. And she meant every word. His looks, his physique. He was a walking, talking Greek god. Most importantly, he had an aura of class, an innate confidence that couldn't be faked. It was the kind of presence cultivated from a lifetime of moving in elite circles, not the cheap imitation of some nobody who got famous overnight and threw on a designer suit. Haha, Miss Song, you're too kind, Asher said. You don't mind if I call you Sophie, do you? In his past life, the shoot had been at a different location, and he'd never met her. But it didn't matter where they were. The slap-happy Dragon King was bound to show up eventually. Oh my! Sophie suddenly stopped walking, a soft, breathy sound escaping her lips. Asher paused and looked back at her. Her face was flushed, and she explained with a hint of embarrassment, Mr. Vance, the way you just said my name, it made my knees go weak. She fluttered her eyelashes at him, sending sparks. She wasn't lying. Sometimes a man could be so devastatingly handsome that he could literally make a woman weak in the knees. Asher was living proof. Asher was stunned. Since when was his charisma that powerful? It couldn't be. The heroines were all still the same. None of them had fallen for him yet, right? Well, maybe a little, but he was still convinced they were all plotting against him. So his mindset hadn't really changed. He figured his appeal to the main heroines was limited since they were top-tier beauties themselves. But Sophie, while beautiful, was a step below them. Could his looks and voice alone knock a woman like her off her feet? He didn't buy it for a second. So, he used that magnetic voice of his again. Sophie, don't you think you're exaggerating a little? I know who I am, but you don't have to do all this. He lowered his voice slightly. I'm serious. Let's just act like normal friends. Each time he said her name, a shiver ran through Sophie's body. She felt a tingling sensation all over. Asher's expression grew even more perplexed. Just as he was about to say something else, Sophie reached out a delicate hand and covered his mouth, stopping him from speaking. As she moved, Anya moved too, but Asher waved her off, giving Sophie the opening. Sophie's face was beet red, her eyes hazy, as if she were tipsy. Oh dear. Sorry, Mr. Vance, look at my stupid mouth. I can't seem to talk straight. She took a deep breath. Mr. Vance, could you please stop calling me Sophie for a minute? I need to recover. Asher nodded. Only then did she pull her hand back. She glanced at her palm, a flicker of disappointment in her eyes when she saw it was empty except for the lingering warmth of his skin. The look did not escape Asher's notice, and his shock level ratcheted up another notch. What kind of bizarre film set had he stumbled into? He was here to get his face slapped, not to join some weird, thirsty crew. A chill ran down his spine. He glanced at the Dragon Queen beside him and felt a wave of relief. Thank God she was stuck to him like glue. As long as Leo Flynn hadn't made his next move, she was bound by her role to protect him. His personal safety was somewhat guaranteed. Then new thought struck him. If the slap-happy Dragon King decided to go for a mutual destruction gambit, would Anya betray him and tie him up herself? He swallowed hard, praying that wouldn't happen. As his mind raced, the elevator doors opened. Mr. Vance, your family's business isn't finance, right? Sophie asked, her smile radiant. I happen to have some spare cash, but I'm clueless when it comes to managing it. You're the expert. Could you help me out? The request for help was just a pretext to get closer, of course. Managing some spare cash was far beneath Asher's pay grade, but she was sure he understood the real meaning behind her words. Wasn't he rumored to be a huge player before he fell for Serafina Hayes? There was always a chance. That breathy voice of hers was almost unbearable. Luckily, Asher was used to it. He smiled, pulled a business card from his pocket, and handed it to her. Sure, if you're interested. Sophie was stunned. It actually worked. Her eyes lit up as she eagerly took the card. I'm very interested. She glanced down at the card. It was made of solid gold, with a sleek, minimalist design. Asher didn't hand these out to just anyone. Of course, a woman of her stature wasn't impressed by the small amount of gold. She wanted the number. And there it was, embossed on the surface. Asher Vance's phone number. Sophie carefully put the card away, completely unaware that the number on it wasn't Asher's. To facilitate his new life of royally sanctioned slacking, he'd given the SIM card to his secretary, Jasmine Jiang. Work calls were her problem now. Asher didn't bother to explain. She was about to say something more, to get a little cozier, when the elevator chimed and the door slid open. Sophie's smile twitched. Damn it, why so fast? It wasn't every day she got to spend time with a man this gorgeous. Mr. Vance, please follow me. The entire crew is this way. Sophie led the way, her hips swaying hypnotically. The view was certainly eye-catching, but Asher chose to ignore it. He was too busy scanning the area, plotting how he would orchestrate his own public humiliation at the hands of Leo Flynn. The set was a lavish, multi-level apartment. A small army of people was already there, some hauling lights, others manning cameras. Vic, Lou, and Lena were sitting in front of a monitor, wearing headphones, pointing and shaking their heads at different parts of the set. Suddenly, someone tapped Vic on the shoulder. He took off his headphones as the person whispered something in his ear. Vic turned around. As he did, the entire crew paused what they were doing and followed his gaze. Sophie was leading a ridiculously handsome man into the room, followed by an equally beautiful female assistant. Everyone was dumbstruck. Which actress was making a guest appearance? Anya's stunning looks made an easy mistake. But the man Sophie was with, he was handsome on a whole other level. He had the class, the face, the height. He looked like he'd walked straight out of a novel. Some of the crew had been grumbling earlier. They thought Leo Flynn had done a decent job yesterday, and he was handsome enough. More importantly, he didn't need to rely on the crutch of reading numbers for his lines, a practice that, while editable in post, was just plain weird to witness. But that was just hush complaining. No one would dare say it to Vic's face. He was the director, the boss. They were just hired hands. But now, seeing Asher in person, they realized how wrong they'd been. The female crew members, in particular, looked ready to forgive any acting sin. In an age where looks trumped all, being handsome was its own form of justice. The way they were staring at him, it was like they wanted to eat him alive, though their eyes held a deep reverence. Vic was the first to react, scurrying over. "Mr. Vance, you're here. I was just adjusting the set layout. My apologies for not greeting you at the door." Asher nodded, showing he understood. He couldn't care less about pleasantries. His eyes were already scanning the room, searching for the slap-happy Dragon King. He didn't find him, but he did see Lena, and she was wearing a light red dress that stopped above her knees, revealing long, milky white legs. A professional makeup artist had accentuated her features, making her look even more exquisite and captivating. The difference between no makeup, light makeup, and a professional job was night and day. Even Asher felt a flicker of attraction as he glanced at her, but he quickly dismissed it. "Sigh, another one of Leo Flynn's women," he thought. "She's the heroine, you're the villain. Don't even think about it. You're just a passerby in her world. Hey, wait, where's the protagonist? Did I come to the wrong place today?" Ping. "Congratulations, host. Personal charisma +1. Lena, come over here. I want you to meet Mr. Vance," Vic called out, waving her over enthusiastically. Lena walked over, a hint of reluctance in her steps. It wasn't that she disliked Asher. She just felt the movie was now 99% likely to be a train wreck. Although she had to admit, Asher looked incredibly handsome today. "Hello, Mr. Vance. I believe we met at Jessica Yang's birthday party." "Haha, yes, we did." Asher cleared his throat. They shook hands briefly. Once the pleasantries were over, Vic jumped in. "So, Mr. Vance, did you get a chance to look at the script yesterday?" "Script? What script?" "Oh, you mean that thing. I looked at it. Got 2 pages in and gave up. I'm not here to be an actor. I'm here for the face slap. Wait a minute. I'm acting out my part in real life, while you guys are acting in a movie. What does that make this? Art imitating life?" Asher blinked, then put on an awkward but polite smile. "Yes, I did." Hearing this, Vic beamed like a 200-pound kid in a candy store. "Excellent, excellent. We'll start today's scene from the middle. We'll shoot the middle first, then find the right locations for the beginning and end. Oh, and you'll need to change outfits." Lena, hearing Asher's inner thoughts, fell into a contemplative silence. She regretted listening to Cassie's nonsense. This was a complete waste of time. She might as well have her agent clear her schedule and wait for a director with a decent project to call. She bit her lip, ready to grab her bag and leave. There was no point in testing him. Asher clearly had zero interest. Why should she stick around and cater to him? Just then, an angry voice boomed from the doorway. "Vic Lou, what's the meaning of this? You promised me this role. Why the sudden change? You think you can just walk all over me?" Leo Flynn, with his lackey Manny Marcos in tow, stormed onto the set, fury radiating from him. Trailing behind them was one of the bodyguards from the door, his face bruised and swollen, limping as he tried to keep up. Vic and his crew immediately understood how Leo had gotten inside. He'd forced his way in. For a moment, Asher was ecstatic. The entire film crew was mortified. Anya remained as stoic and expressionless as ever. "Leo Flynn, you're trespassing on private property. If you don't leave now, I'll call the police," Vic blustered, trying to get ahead of the situation and save Asher from any embarrassment. He had to shut Leo down before he could say anything more. Leo didn't get angry. He just laughed, a sneer playing on his lips. He was about to retort when he spotted a familiar face, Asher Vance. He looked from Asher to Vic, and the pieces instantly clicked into place. "Eh, so is you again, you useless spoiled brat." Asher paused for a second, then broke into a grin. "Yep, me again." He admitted it instantly. What was there to deny? The protagonist's arrival was exactly what he'd been hoping for. Oh my god, the face-slapping scene was finally here. How exciting. Vic and the crew were completely bewildered. What was going on? Before they could process it, Leo's eyes lit up. Like a seasoned detective, he laid out his theory. "I knew it. You're nothing without your money. All you know how to do is throw cash at your problems. You paid off the director and the crew to get this part, didn't you? Forcing everyone to play along with your selfish little fantasy." Leo's accusations were so specific that the crew members started exchanging strange looks. It wasn't unheard of for a wealthy tycoon to fund a movie just to star in it themselves. They'd seen it all before. They just hadn't expected Vic to sell out quite so quickly. Considering Asher's family background, Vic must have made a fortune. Hitching his wagon to the Vance family could set him up for life. He might never have to direct another movie again. Vic, seeing Asher smiling at him, looked both shocked and thrilled. He jabbed a finger at Leo, his face a mask of theatrical panic. "Don't listen to him. He's slandering me. This is defamation." His over-the-top performance only seemed to confirm that he'd taken a bribe. Even Sophie couldn't watch anymore. She was seething with jealousy. Why couldn't she be the head director? Then she'd be the one getting to interact with Asher. Taking money wasn't a big deal in this industry. It was just how things worked. Asher, meanwhile, was mentally applauding the slap-happy war god's incredible powers of deduction. To perfectly fit his role as the great villain, Asher's smile turned arrogant and wild. "What's the matter? You got a problem with my family being rich?" "You're right. Money really can buy anything." The only thing Asher couldn't figure out was why Leo's entrance had been so extra. Beating up the hired security? A few crew members went to check on the injured guard, who explained that he'd gotten off easy. The rest of the guys outside were all on the ground. It was insane, but maybe it just proved the old saying, the hero always arrives last. A little flair was to be expected. Leo was speechless. When he thought about it, Asher wasn't wrong. He'd gone straight for his biggest weakness. How was he supposed to compete with that? Then he noticed Anya standing behind Asher. A flicker of contempt crossed his eyes. The fool still had no idea who she really was. While the two of them were arguing, or rather, while Leo was spinning his own narrative and Asher was eagerly agreeing with whatever he said, Lena had had enough. She was about to grab her bag and walk out. The escalating situation finally spurred Vic into action. His face dark, he turned to Leo. "That's enough, Mr. Flynn. I am the director of this film, and I decide who gets cast. That is my right. Furthermore, I want to state for the record that I have not taken a single cent from Mr. Vance. If you continue to slander me, I will sue you. You can take it up with the judge." Leo looked stunned. Was I wrong? That can't be right. Asher was cursing Vic out in his head. What the hell, man? I thought you were on Leo's side. Don't go off script like this. Sophie intercepted Lena before she could leave. The whole scene was descending into chaos. "Sophie, I came here to film, not to listen to a screaming match," Lena said, rubbing her temples, making no effort to hide her frustration. She wasn't worried about Asher holding a grudge. She'd heard enough of his inner thoughts to know he wouldn't. This movie wasn't just in trouble. It was already dead. There was no point in staying. Vic had clearly picked his side. Leo suppressed his rage. So what if he had money? His mind raced, looking for an angle, a way to get around Asher's advantages. If he could just win a sliver of Lena's admiration, it would be worth it. He had to land a blow on Asher. "Asher Vance," he declared, "I challenge you to an acting competition." He'd figured it out. He would use this brief window to leave a lasting impression on Lena. She was probably going to leave anyway, which was perfect for him. At least he could score some points before she did. Vic started to refuse, but Asher cut him off, answering first. All right, a contest between the hero and the villain always ended in the villain's failure. Plus, Anya was from the Dragon's Den. A backstab from her at a critical moment? The thought was thrilling. Since Asher had agreed, Vic couldn't say much. He started frantically winking and signaling to the crew members, then waved over a female assistant with glasses who was holding a script. Take Mr. Flynn and Mr. Vance to that room over there and explain the scene to them. Asher and Leo followed her out. Anya trailed behind Asher, and Manny stuck close to Leo. Asher had never felt so exhilarated. The whole protagonist crew was here, crammed into one small room. He had no idea if these lunatics would suddenly jump him. My iron mantle will protect me, right? He wondered. The moment they were gone, Vic's face hardened. He gathered the crew and spoke in a low, urgent tone. All right, listen up. in 5 minutes, no matter how Mr. Vance performs, even if he's just standing there reading lines off a teleprompter with zero emotion. I want you all to remember one thing. You tell him he was brilliant. Do not, under any circumstances, bruise his ego. If I see anyone who isn't convincing, you can pack your bags tonight. If you can't handle a little thing like this, you have no business being actors. After his little speech, Vic trotted over to Lena and, practically oozing charm, he pleaded with her to play along, just for a little while. He told her she could quit afterward, no penalty. Just a little white lie, a little flattery for Asher. It never hurt. If Lena left, Vic had other A-list actresses he could call. If Asher had a thing for stars, he could find someone else to be his partner. The assistant handed the script to Asher first, explaining, Mr. Vance, Mr. Flynn, since this is just a test, the scene isn't too difficult. You'll be playing a husband who has come home after a long, tiring day at work. You'll have dinner and chat with the heroine. You're a married couple who have been together for 7 years. Asher listened while scanning the script. He memorized the lines with a single glance. It was no trouble at all. He pictured the expressions and reactions described in the notes, then casually tossed the script to Leo. Leo caught it. To him, Asher's nonchalance was pure arrogance. As he listened to the assistant's explanation and read the script, even Leo felt the pressure. The charity ad yesterday had been easy. Few lines, simple emotional requirements. But this was different. It took him a good 20 minutes to barely commit the lines to memory. Memorizing was one thing, but delivering the performance described on the page was another. If it were that easy, everyone would be an actor. Gentlemen, if you're ready, please follow me back. Seeing they were both done, the assistant led them back to the main room. The atmosphere was surprisingly relaxed for a test shoot. When they entered, Vic clapped his pudgy hands together. Mr. Vance, Mr. Flynn, who wants to go first? I will, Leo said, stepping forward. Asher had zero acting skills. Lena would probably leave right after the test, and Leo wanted to catch her on the way out. He didn't have time to waste. Vic didn't answer right away. He waited for Asher's nod before saying, All right, let's do it. Leo shot Asher a dismissive smirk, showing no gratitude. He figured Asher was just scared to go first. A few moments later, everyone was in position. The scene began. Click. The sound of a key turning in a lock, and the door swung open. A weary-looking Leo appeared. He had never experienced the soul-crushing exhaustion of a 9 to 5 job, so he had to rely on his imagination and memories of being thoroughly drained during his time abroad. To the crew, the expression looked a bit forced, but it was passable. Much better than most of the pretty boy actors they'd worked with. From the kitchen, Lena, wearing an apron, was setting food on the table. She saw Leo and broke into a warm, sweet smile. You're home. The smile sent a jolt through Leo. He froze for a second. It wasn't a lack of self-control. Lena was just that captivating. Vic and the others winced. Leo quickly realized his mistake and forced a classic smile. Yeah, it's been a long day. What for dinner? Not just Lena, but everyone else felt something was off. The script called for a gentle smile, and Leo had delivered one, but it was a little creepy. Lena, the professional, quickly recovered. All your favorites. I'm going to see a college friend tomorrow. Leo sat down and recited his lines. It was his first time acting in a film with so many people watching, and his performance was shaky. A few times, his expression didn't match his words. But overall, it was a solid, if unremarkable, performance. For a newcomer, it was incredibly impressive. Even Lena was inwardly surprised. The 5-minute scene ended. Leo felt genuinely tired now. Vic and the crew were also a bit stunned. They knew Leo had no prior acting experience. This was a damn good start. They wanted to applaud, but seeing Vic remain motionless, they quickly suppressed the urge. Clap, clap, clap. In a large room, only Manny Marcos was clapping enthusiastically. Leo, that was amazing. Absolutely incredible. Leo, recovering, shot a triumphant, challenging look in Asher's direction. Vic's expression wasn't great. To avoid embarrassing Asher and himself, he picked up a megaphone. Lena, need a break? If not, let's get ready for Mr. Vance. It was just a few minutes. Lena wasn't so high maintenance as to need a break for that. She nodded at Vic. The 200-pound director then turned to Asher, his face splitting into a fawning grin. Mr. Vance, it's your turn. Just relax. It's okay if it's not perfect. All right, Asher said with a smile. He had no intention of holding back, because he didn't need to. Why was he here? To get his face slapped and annoy the protagonists. And as for how to annoy them, he already had a brilliant plan forming in his mind. That's right, he was going to improvise. He was going to put his own little spin on the original script. Everyone knows that adaptation isn't just making things up, and a little creative liberty isn't heresy. And no one knew better than Asher how to adapt the scene to perfectly twist the knife in the slap-happy protagonist's gut. Soon, all eyes were on the monitor outside the door. The door opened, and Asher came into view. His face was a mask of exhaustion, but then, as if thinking of something, a hint of a tender smile broke through the fatigue. The performance was so natural, so utterly convincing, it felt real. It was as if a genuine, overworked husband had just walked into their lives. Following the script, Asher took off his shoes, removed his jacket, and hung it on a hook. He walked into the apartment. His movements were so fluid, so perfect, that no one could find a single flaw. Vic sucked in a sharp breath. Is that really Mr. Vance? Sophie couldn't contain her excitement. A rich heir this handsome, who could also act. He was a female director's dream come true. Asher reached the living room. "You're home," Lena said, looking up with the same warm, sweet smile. But this time, it lacked a bit of its earlier sincerity. Perhaps it was a flicker of disappointment. Asher didn't speak. The weariness on his face was replaced by a gentle smile, one that still held a trace of fatigue, the look of a man trying to hide his exhaustion from his wife. He walked straight to Lena, wrapped his arms around her from behind, and rested his hands on her slender waist. He leaned his head against her shoulder and whispered in her ear, "Yeah, it's been a long day, baby. What's for dinner?" Lena froze, her body stiffening. It was so sudden. She wasn't the only one who was stunned. The entire crew was dumbfounded. What scene was this? Was this in the script? Leo's eyes looked like they were about to pop out of his head. He roared, "Asher, what are you doing?" Leo's sudden outburst echoed through the room, snapping Vic and the crew out of their trance. His face contorted with rage. Leo rolled up his sleeves and took a step forward, ready to teach Asher a lesson. Somebody restrain that idiot. Vic bellowed, furious. He wasn't going to tolerate this. A few crew members immediately surrounded Leo. This time, with Lena watching, Leo chose to maintain his image and didn't resort to violence. Instead, he glared at Asher, his face a dark cloud. "Asher, what's your problem? Is that in the script?" The protagonist was angry, which meant Asher was delighted. Cuckolding the hero right in front of his face. What a rush. Asher just shrugged with a smile. "Nope, but I like to improvise. It makes the film feel more natural, more fluid." Sophie's eyes were sparkling. "Mr. Vance, I had no idea you knew so much about filmmaking." She was looking at him like he was the second coming. "Yeah, Mr. Vance, where did you learn to act like that? It's incredible. You're on par with the old masters. Holy crap. Mr. Vance, are you sure this is your first time acting?" Led by Sophie, the crew could no longer contain themselves. They showered him with genuine praise, their previous instructions from Vic forgotten. "Haha, I know a thing or two," Asher replied, still holding Lena, not letting go. There was an undeniable charm about him. For some reason, Lena didn't feel repulsed by his touch. A faint blush crept up her beautiful face, making her even more stunning. Leo's expression grew uglier. "Missin', if you're uncomfortable, just say the word. I'll teach this bastard a lesson for you. If you're being threatened, just blink," Asher thought, barely suppressing a laugh. "Haha, this is priceless. Come on, big star, unleash your inner fury. It'll be good for you, good for me, and good for him. This scene is a piece of cake, but I don't want to waste my time here. Come on, baby, let your future slap-happy boyfriend teach me a lesson." Ping. Congratulations, host. You have received cash reward plus $12, $3.45. Asher felt a thrill of excitement. The plot was finally getting back on track. It had taken a few detours, but it was still within an acceptable range. Lena was confused. Stunned? He calls this scene a piece of cake. This 5-minute scene wasn't easy at all. In fact, he hadn't even finished it. But his performance so far had been incredible. Lena swallowed and quickly made a decision. "Leo, thank you for your concern, but I'd like to finish this scene. Please don't interrupt again." She wanted to see for herself. Did Asher Vance really have the talent to pull this off? Maybe his initial performance was a fluke. She had to know. The confident smile vanished from Leo's face, replaced by disbelief. But Lena had spoken. There was nothing more he could say. He settled for glaring daggers at Asher. Vic shot Leo a look of pure exasperation, then turned to the crew. "Everyone keep an eye on him. If Mr. Flynn here dares to cause another disturbance, call the police immediately." With that settled, Vic turned back to Asher, his attitude shifting 180 degrees. "Mr. Vance, please, feel free to improvise as much as you like. In fact, I think the way you're playing it is much better. If there are no other issues, please continue. Asher was floored. What do you mean, no other issues? This is a huge issue. If you do this, how is the protagonist supposed to slap my face? But what shocked him even more was Lena. Logically, his sudden physical contact and ad-libbing should have disgusted her. But not only did she not push him away, she was telling the crew to keep rolling. Lena, if I keep acting with you like this, won't your boyfriend get angry? Asher mused internally. Lena, with us being so intimate right in front of your boyfriend, won't he get jealous? Lena, if I ramp up the intensity, won't her boyfriend beat me up? Your boyfriend is so scary. Not like me. I would only ever dote on my Lena. Asher, stop spacing out. It's your line. Lena's face was crimson. It was hard to tell if it was from embarrassment or rage, but she was clearly flustered. She reminded him through gritted teeth. Asher snapped back to reality. Maybe he was approaching this all wrong. It would all work out in the end. He had to believe that. I made plans to play cards with some friends tomorrow, so let's eat out for dinner. He improvised, his voice smooth. Did you change your perfume? It smells amazing. A shiver ran down his own spine. He had to fight back the cringe to deliver the line, showcasing what a true master of flirtation looked like. He was so close that as he spoke, he took a deep breath, inhaling her scent. A tremor went through her body. The sheer, masculine energy radiating from him made her knees feel weak. Who could possibly resist that? In her panic, she almost forgot her line, but she managed to hold it together. As their scene continued, Vic nodded approvingly. That's the vibe. Perfect. He was ecstatic. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Why didn't I think of adding these lines? And his acting, it's incredible. Sophie was staring, transfixed, nodding along. Did Asher major in performance arts in college? She mumbled. So manly. I can't take it anymore. She wished she could be the one in Lena's place. The envy was so strong it felt like it was tearing her apart. The 5-minute scene stretched to 7, thanks to Asher's improvisations. But no one, except for Leo, seemed to mind. They were all too busy watching in stunned silence. The scene ended. The set was quiet, as if someone had hit the pause button. Everyone stood frozen. After a moment, someone started to clap, and then the room erupted in thunderous applause. Mr. Vance, that was phenomenal. If you hadn't told me you were acting, I'd have thought a character from a novel had just walked into real life. Holy. Mr. Vance, I bow to you. My coworker just asked me why I'm clapping on my knees. It's because my legs stopped working. The crew's praise was genuine and unrestrained. It wasn't because of Vic's earlier threats. They were truly won over by Asher's performance. Vic looked like he'd just discovered a diamond mine. His fleshy body jiggled with excitement. Mr. Vance, you have to finish this film. I'll even give you my share of the profits. Talent like this was rare. Asher was perfect, just like the hero from a book. Lena was still in a daze. She thought she'd forgotten her lines at the end, completely mesmerized by the raw power of Asher's acting. Leo was bewildered. The blatant favoritism was staggering. Why was it that when he performed, there was dead silence, but when Asher acted, they practically broke their hands clapping? He wanted to point at them and scream, "How much did he pay you? I'll double it." Mr. Flynn, we're about to resume filming. We need all non-essential personnel to leave the set immediately. Vic's voice cut through the air. A clear dismissal. Leo's face darkened. Ignoring the portly director, he turned his attention to Lena, flashing what he thought was a dashing smile. Missin', weren't you planning on leaving? Would you like to go together? My car is quite spacious. It was a blatant attempt to poach her. He had no intention of ever seeing these people again, so he didn't bother being polite. Vic looked like he'd just been punched in the gut. What a scumbag. His heart was in his throat. Lena had been planning to leave. He wondered what she would choose now. The entire crew's attention shifted to her. Lena finally snapped out of her daze and composed herself. I'm sorry, she said, her voice clear and firm. I've changed my mind, but thank you for the offer. She paused, then added, and for the record, if I were to leave, I have my own car. I wouldn't want to trouble you. Besides, we barely know each other. The rejection was swift and absolute. The smug smile on Leo's face vanished. Wait, am I the clown here? In fact, Leo wasn't the only one thinking that. So was Asher. Whoa, what the hell is this? He thought incredulously. This isn't fun anymore, Lena. You're a woman of your word. You should do what you say you're going to do. You're making things very difficult for me. Asher felt like he was the one being played. This wasn't the script he'd signed up for. A few moments later, Leo and Manny left. What was the point of staying? To further humiliate himself? Once they were outside, Leo's face was a thundercloud. Boss, should I get some guys to ambush that kid? Teach him a lesson? Manny asked respectfully. Leo's eyes glinted with malice. No, I was going to have Nemesis handle that spoiled brat, but I've changed my mind. That's a trump card I need to save for later. One shot, one kill. I'm going to take that waste of Space's life. Let him enjoy himself for a few more days. BZZ, before Leo could finish, his phone rang. Hello, boss, I'm back. Leo took a sharp breath, a flicker of excitement in his eyes. You're early. Yeah, I got bored overseas. What time does your flight land? I'll pick you up. No need. I'm going to help you track down that red rose over the next couple of days. Good. After hanging up, Leo let out a long breath. First things first. As much as he wanted to deal with Asher, finding Red Rose and making her pay was his top priority. The Vance family was a long-term target. He could afford to be patient. But Red Rose, that woman had taken his money and given him nothing. If word got out that he'd been played for a fool, he'd be a laughingstock. Simply put, anyone who scammed the Dragon King, human or ghost, would pay back what they owed, with interest. Back on set, Asher was still a little dazed. The Dragon King had just left. Who was he supposed to be acting for now? Sophie had already sidled up to him. Mr. Vance, your acting was simply sublime. The director and I have decided to skip ahead and film the most exciting scene next. With the talent you've shown, it'll be no problem at all. Asher ignored her flattery. He wanted to ask why the slap-happy Dragon King didn't even try to put up a fight. Did he think beautiful women had no standards? You can't win a girl if you don't even try. What a joke. Asher fumed silently. Mr. Vance, are you listening to me? Sophie waved a pale, slender hand in front of his face. Hello. Asher's thoughts returned to the present. He smiled at her. I'm listening. Sophie beamed. That's great. She launched back into her enthusiastic explanation. Lena hadn't left. Asher's acting was not just up to par. It was far beyond what she could have imagined. It was a ray of light in the darkness, and she had decided to stay. Vic, the director, couldn't stop grinning. Having Asher stay was an unexpected blessing, and with a star like Lena and still on board, he could practically feel the Best Director award in his hands. The script was solid, the cast was perfect. If the movie flopped, it could only mean the audience was tasteless. But he knew it wouldn't flop. With the right promotion, they could pack the theaters. It was a win-win. Asher had been planning to slip away himself, until he heard what scene they were filming next. A heavy, passionate love scene. Asher's expression grew complex. How could Sophie describe it all so calmly, without a hint of shyness? In fact, the more she talked, the more excited she seemed to get. The premise is simple, she explained. Your identities have been compromised, forcing you to separate. After surviving the organization's attempts to hunt you down, you're finally reunited. So, Mr. Vance, you need to be very manly. You're an old married couple, and absence makes the heart grow fonder. It's the hunter's moment. You pounce, pin the heroine down, tear her clothes off, and then, Asher stood there dumbfounded. He finally understood. First it was a little green, now it was a lot of green. If you want to get ahead in life, you have to wear a green hat. He was the real clown here. The script Lena was filming now was completely different from the one in his past life. No wonder everything fell off. But it made sense for him to stay. The movie would eventually be released, right? He could still add a little fuel to the fire, make the protagonist's green hat shine even brighter. It was all for the sake of motivating the Dragon King. Since the script was getting wild, he would have to change his strategy. Sophie went over the details with him a few more times and had him look at the script again. This scene was much more challenging than the last one, so they were giving him plenty of time to prepare. Cameras were set up around the room. The crew, the lighting, everything was in place. Lena had changed into a simple white house dress, her pale legs exposed, her hair tied back in a messy ponytail. Next to her stood a girl who looked remarkably similar to her, wearing the exact same outfit. Her body double. Asher knew that for scenes like this, Lena always used a stand-in. Vic picked up his megaphone. Mr. Vance, we'll shoot this scene in 2 parts and edit them together later. Let's start with the first part. The portly director was practically vibrating with excitement. And he wasn't the only one. Beside him, Sophie's eyes were wide, her breathing heavy. This was the kind of shot you only get once in a lifetime. It wasn't that other movies didn't have scenes like this. It was about who was performing them. A man like Asher, 1,000 times more handsome than any pretty boy actor, was exactly her cup of tea. And all the other women on the crew felt the same way. All right, places, everyone. Places. Vic's chubby hand trembled as he spoke into his walkie-talkie. The agents, scene 1, take 1. The filming had officially begun. Before they started, Vic assured Asher not to be nervous. If the first take didn't work, they'd do a second. If the second failed, they'd do a third. They had all the time in the world. All Asher had to do was be himself. When it came to Asher, Vic and the crew were willing to bend over backward. If any of the A-list stars they'd worked with in the past knew about this, they'd probably burst into tears. Vic was notorious for tearing into even the biggest names without mercy. He was a top-tier director with a string of classics to his name. He had the right to be demanding. But with Asher, he had to keep his temper in check. Back on set, Asher stood outside the door. His expression was a perfect blend of weariness, joy, and a deep longing for his lost partner. He opened the door and, as the script dictated, rushed inside without even taking off his shoes. Not finding Lena in the living room, he deliberately slowed his pace. At the monitor, Sophie and Vic were glued to the screen. "This kid has some serious talent," Vic muttered. That expression before he even entered the room. "That takes years of practice to perfect." "I don't think it's practice," Sophie breathed. "I think that's what a man who genuinely misses his wife looks like." The camera followed Asher as he moved toward the balcony, where sounds were coming from. Lena was there, hanging clothes, her back to him. In a single second, Asher's expression shifted 3 times, from longing to joy to an irrepressible excitement. He opened his arms and suddenly lunged, wrapping her in a fierce embrace from behind. Their bodies pressed together, and both of them shivered. Asher couldn't help it. The script left no room for improvisation this time. As for Lena, being held so suddenly by a man sent a jolt through her, her heart fluttering. Asher leaned in close, his voice husky and tender in her ear. "We've been through so much. They thought I was dead, but I'm still here." He nuzzled her neck. "Baby, did you miss me while I was gone?" "Oh my God." Asher's scalp tingled. What kind of genius came up with these lines? But it was too late to back out now. To firmly place the cuckold's hat on the slap-happy Dragon King's head. He was giving it his all. Lena's body trembled. A genuine reaction. A flash of panic crossed her face, but at the sound of Asher's voice, it was replaced by a look of pure joy. Her beautiful face flushed a deep red. Her heart was pounding. In the past, she would have let her double handle a scene like this, but this time was different. Asher's presence, his performance. It was all so compelling. She hadn't insisted on the stand-in. "I knew it," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I knew you weren't dead." She may have looked in control, but right now, she was more nervous than anyone. At the monitor, Vic slapped his thigh. "Damn it, that's perfect. That's the exact feeling we needed." Sophie was practically bouncing with excitement. As the scene progressed, Asher delivered another line. This time, Lena's face was beet red, her head spinning. The warm breath from his lips on her ear was intoxicating. This was a real-life alpha male, not some character from a cheesy romance novel. He was just being himself. Lena was in a daze. She completely forgot her next line, standing there frozen, letting Asher hold her. Asher's eye twitched. He was speechless. And she's supposed to be a professional actress? Are you kidding me? She's so nervous she forgot her lines? Even a complete amateur like me is doing better than this. He tried to give her a cue, gently squeezing her waist. He thought she'd get the hint, but he was wrong. Lena's entire body shuddered again, and then she went completely still, as if her system had crashed. "Cut! Cut! Cut!" Vic's body shook, his face contorted in a furious grimace. "What are you doing? What the hell are you doing? Did you go deaf? Dumb? Why are you just standing there?" Sophie's face was also a mask of anger. "Lena, what was that? Don't you know your part? Mister, Vance isn't even a professional actor, and he's outperforming you, and you're just standing there like a statue. You're making all of us wait for you." The two of them tag-teamed her, but then they seemed to remember something. Lena wasn't just an actress. She was practically a peer, with her own production credits. And more importantly, Asher was watching. If they made a bad impression, they'd be finished. If they scared Asher away, the whole project would collapse. Instantly, their attitudes shifted again. Vic's face smoothed into a fawning smile, like a eunuch from an old movie. "Mr. Vance, you two were excellent." It was just Lena who didn't quite nail her part. Sophie forced a smile. Seeing the handsome man looking at her, her expression became one of pure delight. "The director is right. Lena, honey, you just need to remember your lines, okay?" One second they were playing bad cop, the next they were all sweetness and light. Lena was mortified. The amateur was outshining the professional. It was embarrassing for anyone, but she was a big star, not a diva. She knew when she was wrong. "I'm so sorry," she said, her cheeks burning. "That was my mistake. Director Lou, Director Song, I apologize for wasting everyone's time." She took a deep breath. "To make up for it, I want to do this next take in one shot. No doubles." Lena wasn't repulsed by Asher. His incredible performance had made her decide to do something daring. A large part of it was also because she could hear his inner thoughts. She knew he had no ulterior motives, which gave her the courage to challenge herself. A collective gasp went through the room. They couldn't believe what they were hearing. This was a heavy scene, and Lena was going to do it herself. Unbelievable. Everyone's face lit up with excitement. Everyone, that is, except for Lena's body double. Her expression was one of pure, soul-crushing disappointment. Asher took a deep breath. Was Lena trying to ascend to godhood? Doing it herself? And everyone else was looking forward to it? Did anyone bother to ask his opinion? It was just a fleeting thought. Opportunities to cuckold the slap-happy Dragon King were rare. Besides, after he was inevitably BBQ'd by the plot, leaving behind a film that would forever torment the protagonist seemed like a pretty good deal. Nearby, Anya watched, her expression as placid as ever, though her brow furrowed slightly from time to time. "Lena, are you ready?" Vic asked. Lena nodded. Vic picked up the walkie-talkie. "All right, everyone, listen up. I want you all at your absolute best. The agents, scene 1, take 2. Action." The camera snapped to Asher. He repeated his previous actions, his previous words, wrapping his arms around Lena's soft, supple waist from behind and delivering those ridiculously suggestive lines from the script. It was so cheesy. If he had known how R-rated the script was, he would have mentally prepared himself. Now he just had to grit his teeth and get through it. The heroine was the heroine for a reason. Even through a layer of clothing, Asher could feel how incredible her figure was. What a shame. This was all for the slap-happy Dragon King. A villain like him got nothing. Lena's heart skipped a beat. She bit her lip and said in a soft, trembling voice, "You know, in all the days you were gone, I thought of you every second of every minute. I couldn't even breathe without you." She broke free from his embrace and turned to face him. Her beautiful eyes reflected his image, her expression a mix of excitement and tenderness. "Baby, I felt the exact same way," Asher said, his voice thick with emotion. He took her soft, delicate hand in his. He swore, in all his 3 lifetimes, he had never said anything so cringeworthy, not even with the she-devil. Their relationship was much more straightforward. Sweet nothings and sappy lines. He was getting goosebumps. Lena let him hold her hand, her eyes filled with a watery tenderness. She looked at him, then closed her eyes, her ruby-red lips trembling slightly. "Don't talk. Kiss me." If you looked closely, you could see her whole body was shaking as she delivered the line. She was far more nervous than Asher. This was her first on-screen kiss, after all. Asher was nervous too. Everyone was watching. There were cameras everywhere. When this movie came out, not only would the slap-happy Dragon King see it, but so would all his friends and family. Asher wanted to cry. This was public execution. But the movie wouldn't be out for a while. By then, the Dragon King would have made his move. He might even be dead by then. With that thought, Asher pushed all his extraneous worries aside. Bagging a heroine was a win. This was worth it. He lowered his head and leaned in. She tasted good, but with so many people watching, it felt a little weird. The entire crew was staring, transfixed. The women, in particular, were swallowing hard. Lena's body double looked like she was about to cry. Normally, for scenes like this, Lena would have pushed her forward without a second thought. Now it was use her and lose her. What a user. The double was fuming, her face a mask of envy and resentment. Sophie was also watching, her mouth dry. She was a sour lemon under a lemon tree. Asher and Lena followed the script, moving from the kiss to the next step. He lifted her into his arms, and she wrapped her legs around his waist like an octopus. He carried her toward the master bedroom. Everyone was stunned, especially Vic. It was a well-known fact that in this day and age, carrying an adult was no easy feat. Some of the pretty boy actors in the industry needed help for similar scenes, using hidden ladders for the actress to sit on while they just pretended to hold her. It all came down to a lack of arm strength. They were weak. The camera followed them into the bedroom. Asher tossed her onto the bed and then pounced. Rip, he tore off her specially prepared dress, revealing sexy, purple lace lingerie and a wide expanse of pale skin. It was in the script. What could he do? He was helpless. Asher's own clothes hadn't been pre-torn, so taking them off was a bit slower. Lena improvised, helping him. The onlooking crew blushed, but they were impressed by her quick thinking. Meanwhile, Sophie and the body double were turning green with envy again. "I could do that. Put me in, coach." The scene was flawless. Their chemistry was perfect. They conveyed all the right emotions and reactions. The old veterans of the film industry were truly impressed. But in the next moment, they saw something they could hardly believe. Lena, being a star, was in great shape. But Asher's body, it was mesmerizing. Was that the physique of a Greek god, come to life? No, it was the perfect male form, right there on Asher Vance. A chiseled V-taper, an 8-pack of sharply defined abs, a physique that rivaled, or even surpassed, that of any Hollywood action hero. Initially, Vic had just been planning to cash in on Asher's fame. He hadn't thought much beyond that. But now, It was like he'd hired an Oscar-winning actor with the body of a god to be his leading man. Vic felt that inviting Asher to be in this film was the single greatest decision of his entire life. It was so right. If it weren't for Asher's status and wealth, Vic would have offered him a massive contract on the spot, signed him for 10 years, and made him the biggest star in the world. Sophie and the other female crew members looked like they were about to faint. They didn't even have the strength to stand. The body double looked like her eyes were going to pop out of her head. Her chance was gone. Sophie's mouth was hanging open in a perfect O. Only one thought remained in her mind. When this movie comes out, it's going to be an absolute blockbuster. Unstoppable. And it's all because of this one scene. Never mind the plot. As long as the marketing department had half a brain, they could build an entire campaign around this one scene. All the young girls would see it and line up to buy tickets. Their handsome dreamboat was right here. Asher Vance had never been so proactive in his life. Scratch that. So passive. So many people were watching. The cameras were practically glued to his face. It was dehumanizing. If he could do it all over again, he'd have thrown the audition and let that smug son of a bitch Leo Flynn have the part. What was the point of being a good actor if this was the result? The whole thing was backfiring spectacularly. This kind of torture was excruciating. He was only human, and some things a man is born with, can't be controlled on command. But the director didn't yell cut, so Asher, ever the professional, had no choice but to see it through. He wasn't a real actor, but he had standards. Lena Ann's mind, meanwhile, was a complete blank. She couldn't tell which way was up. The sensation was entirely new. Two voices screamed inside her head. "This is real," one whispered. "The man in front of you is your husband. No one can blame you for this. No one will judge you." "No," the other voice shrieked. "This is all fake. Lena, you have to hold on. Don't you dare fall for it. You can't let this guy take advantage of you. You have to find a way to get him back. Show him what you're made of. Remember this. Get your revenge, and don't wait. If you let it go, you'll never get the chance." An eternity later, the godforsaken scene was finally over. The moment the director called it, Asher grabbed Anya and practically sprinted off the set, not even sticking around to soak up the crew's inevitable praise. He'd done more than enough for one day. The next scenes required a location change anyway. The entire crew was stunned. No one had expected the most difficult scene in the script to go so smoothly. Director Vic Liu was practically vibrating with excitement. He looked ready to drop to his knees and worship Asher. The footage they captured today was pure gold, an unexpected miracle. If they handled post-production right, this film was a shoe-in for a billion-dollar blockbuster. He could even push for a Christmas release. It would be an absolute bombshell. A billion-dollar box office hit was the ultimate bragging right for a director. His best film to date had topped out just shy of that magic number, so close yet so far. This time, he had a perfect storm. The right script, the right talent, and the right viral buzz. If he couldn't hit his target now, he'd be letting fate down. He threw himself into planning the marketing campaign with renewed vigor. As Asher made his exit, Lena announced she was leaving early, too. Sophie Song, the assistant director, frowned. "What's up, Lena? We can still shoot some of your other scenes." Lena's cheeks were on fire. "I'm sorry, Sophie," she stammered. "I'm not feeling well. Maybe tonight." Sophie blinked, her eyes scanning Lena's flushed face. As a woman who'd been around the block, she understood instantly. A wicked grin spread across her lips. "Permission granted. Go home and get some rest, Lena." Lena nodded gratefully and hurried away. She didn't head back to her villa. It was too far. Instead, she booked a room at the nearest five-star hotel. In the bathroom, she stood under the icy spray of the shower, but did nothing to cool the fire raging inside her. Her mind was a broken record, replaying the image of her and Asher wrapped in that embrace. The more she tried to push the thought away, the more vivid it became. Her heart hammered against her ribs, threatening to leap out of her throat. She was a complete mess, her face burning. "He's just a trust fund kid," she muttered to the tiled wall. "How's he so ripped? I've never heard of him being a gym rat or anything. How do you even get a body that perfect? And that, my God, is he trying to kill someone with that thing?" She dunked her head under the freezing water, forcing herself to calm down. There were still so many scenes to shoot. She couldn't fall apart every time she saw him. How was she supposed to act if she could barely speak? An hour later, she finally emerged from the bathroom. The New York winter was mild this year, and Lena was a regular practitioner of cold water swimming. A single icy shower wasn't going to give her a cold. She flopped onto the bed, propping her chin on a pillow. Her bare feet, small and perfect, kicked playfully at the air. Thump, thump. Is this what it feels like to fall in love? Mom, I'm in love. Her face was still crimson as she came to this staggering conclusion. With a mortified squeak, She buried her head in the pillow. After a long moment, she peeked out, her lips forming a pout. Get a grip, Lena. You have to be classier than this. It's just an illusion, a trick of the light. Even if you wanted Asher, look at the competition. At that thought, a fresh wave of heat washed over her. Just then, her phone screen lit up. She'd silenced it for the shoot. Blinking, she picked it up. It was a flood of messages from Cassandra Lee. At least a dozen of them. Lena quickly scanned the texts. Cassie was asking how the shoot went, how Asher had performed, and she even brought up Leo Flynn. Propping her chin back on the pillow, Lena began typing with both hands, sharing the day's events, minus the more intimate details. Meanwhile, in an office at Vance Corporation, a notification chimed. Ping. Cassie Lee paused, her eyes drifting to the phone on her desk. She turned to Zoe Zhou. I need to check my phone. Zoe, thoroughly seduced, nodded obediently, not daring to challenge her. Cassie glanced at the sender's name, and her eyes lit up. Get dressed, she said abruptly. I have something to do. Zoe froze. The sudden shift was jarring. 1 minute, Cassie was an attentive lover. The next, she was a cold-hearted player. The classic, love him and leave him. Anyone would be furious. Zoe shot her a look of pure resentment, like a jilted wife. Cassie couldn't be bothered. The news of Leo Flynn's failure sent a thrill of victory through her. Serve him right, she thought. How dare he try to touch a woman I've set my sights on? She didn't care if he was the head of the Dragon's Den. On this, there would be no compromise. As for Asher, Cassie wasn't worried in the slightest. Her boss had many virtues, but he was bizarrely obsessed with following some pre-written plot. He would never actually compete with her for a movie star, right? Ha ha. Cassie's laughter echoed in the office, light and musical. Leo Flynn had been shot down. That was cause for celebration. She had already decided to sever ties with the Dragon's Den, a decision bolstered by Anya Kuznetsov, who felt the same way. With Anya on her side, Cassie could act decisively. She wasn't afraid of anyone in the organization except Anya. The world's #1 assassin had tracking skills that were downright terrifying. It wasn't the fear of being killed that got to you. It was the constant, gnawing anxiety of being hunted. It was enough to give anyone a heart attack. Cassie, you free tonight? Let's get dinner. Lena, not tonight. I have to shoot more scenes. Cassie, I see. Well, let me know when you're free. I did solve that little problem for you. The least you can do is buy me a meal to say thanks. Lena, all right, fine. I'll find some time in the next few days. I'll treat you to something nice. Cassie, it's a date. Don't you dare flake on me. Lena, as if I've ever flaked on you. I roll underscore emoji. JPG. Cassie, oh, intersection. Oh, haha, just in case. Lena, gotta go. I need a nap before tonight's shoot. Cassie, okay, get some sleep, my superstar. At the Young Corporation Tower in Midtown Manhattan, Jessica Young was drowning in work. Ever since the volcanic clay beauty formula went viral, orders were backed up until March of next year. Major international brands were already reaching out, desperate to partner with them. As the heir apparent of the Young family, Jessica's schedule was packed from dawn till dusk with meetings, negotiations, and schmoozing. She hadn't had a spare moment to even think about seeing Asher, but it was fine. She had a new plan. She would ride the momentum of their new product to elevate the Young family to an entirely new level. Then, on New Year's Day, she would go to the Van Cess and make her intentions clear. By then, she was certain the Young family would be an asset the Van Cess couldn't ignore. In her executive office that afternoon, Jessica rubbed her aching temples. The last few weeks had been exhausting, but every ounce of effort was an investment in a future where she could be with Asher without a care in the world. It was all worth it. After her public confession at her birthday party, she could no longer suppress the longing she felt. When you love someone, you want all of them. The problem was, Asher's family was on another stratosphere. So, she worked relentlessly to close the gap between the Yangs and the Van Cess. This is so frustrating, she muttered to herself, staring blankly at a news site on her monitor. I miss Ash so much. I wish we were back in elementary school, when I could sneak over while he was napping at his desk, pinch his cheeks, and steal a little kiss. Her wistful daydreaming was shattered by a headline. Celeb gossip now exclusive. National husband Asher Vance spotted on set of A-list actress Lena Ann's new film. The article continued. Details of the film remain under wraps, with no official announcements regarding its title, plot, or genre. Our sources confirm the project is being helmed by veteran director Vic Liu, starring Lena and with an unknown male lead. Filming began today. Why was Asher Vance on set? Has he moved on? Is there a spark between him and the A-list starlet? Or have the two been seeing each other in secret for some time? Stay tuned to Celeb Gossip now as our reporters follow this developing story. Jessica's lazy smile vanished, replaced by sheer disbelief. Asher and Lena? And? Together? It wasn't that she didn't trust Asher, but the optics were terrible. Taking a deep breath, she picked up her phone and made a call. She needed to know exactly what was going on. Why was he there? Otherwise, what was the point of all this? She could make all the money in the world, buy the most extravagant mansions, but if she couldn't have the man she wanted, what was the damn use of this mountain of filthy lucre? Vic, Director Lou, we're trending in the top 10. What? Already? It's only been a few hours. Dude, are you kidding? We're piggybacking off Asher Vance's fame. The guy is the algorithm. Hey, isn't today the day that pop star Justin Fong was supposed to drop his new single? Let me check. Holy crap, you're right. Haha, he got his thunder stolen again. The poor guy can't catch a break. The mood on set was euphoric. Director Vic Lou's phone had been ringing off the hook with calls from colleagues, all dying to know what was going on. He ignored most of them or gave vague, dismissive answers. Far from being angry about the paparazzi leak, Vic was thrilled. The gossip columnist had inadvertently kicked off their marketing campaign for free. Trending topics on Twitter usually cost a fortune to buy. With Asher on board, he didn't have to spend a dime. Another call came through. This was one of the few he couldn't ignore. Arthur, Mr. Sterling, to what do I owe the pleasure? Did you finish that batch of tea I sent over? Arthur Sterling chuckled on the other end. Not yet, Vic. Still have a little left. Well, I'll have some more sent over right away. Sterling didn't refuse, which Vic took as a yes. After a bit more pleasantry, Vic couldn't stand the suspense. He swallowed hard. Arthur, you're not calling because of Asher Vance showing up on my set, are you? It was the only explanation, but it seemed absurd. A man of Arthur Sterling's stature had bigger things to worry about than celebrity gossip. He was an old man. Surely he had better things to do. In the next moment, Vic's worldview was turned upside down. Bingo, Vic. You guessed it. What? Vic was speechless. Mr. Sterling, are you guys into the latest tea now? I mean all this newfangled. Wait, hold on. What in the world are you rambling about? Sterling cut him off. Vic stammered. Well, didn't you want to know what Asher was doing here? Yes. And no. So, which is it? Quiet. Sterling barked, then laughed good-naturedly. Let an old man finish his sentence. Vic, you're making my head spin. Of course. My apologies. I'm all ears, Vic said, embarrassed. It was the Young family's girl, Jessica. She asked me to call you. You know I have a good relationship with her family. As Sterling explained, it all clicked for Vic. It wasn't the first time he'd dealt with something like this. A spouse or partner calling to check up on an actor during a shoot. Clearly, Jessica just wanted to know what Asher was doing, not the plot of the movie. If it were the latter, Vic would be in a much tougher spot. If he leaked the script to Jessica Young, the film would be dead in the water. The whole high society circle knew she'd basically proposed to Asher at her birthday party. Vic wouldn't dare cross the Young family. They'd crush him. Of course, the script itself was confidential. He couldn't just hand it over to an outsider. This movie had to get made. Billion-dollar director. It was his obsession. He told Sterling that Asher had been cast as the male lead and asked him to pass that along to Jessica. He refused to discuss the film's content any further. Sterling, knowing the industry's rules, understood. That single piece of information was enough for him to report back. Huh, you got your hands full, Vic, Sterling said, his tone implying he knew exactly what was going on. Dealing with these rich kids who buy their way into starring roles. But the boy's got money, a good family, and clout. Just humor him, Vic, and this will all blow over. Sterling assumed Asher had paid for the role to get closer to Lena. It was a common story. Some female directors even cast themselves as the lead just to pay a famous actor to be their co-star. Vic was completely baffled. Asher paid for the role? When did he ever say that? And he was supposed to humor him? Hell yes, he would humor him. He'd do more than that. He'd kiss the ground Asher walked on. The kid had the looks, the talent, everything. Vic didn't see anything wrong with sucking up to him. The key was, he got to suck up to him. Other directors weren't so lucky. Thank you for your concern, Mr. Sterling, Vic said with a cryptic smile. When this movie came out, Sterling was going to have to eat his words. A short while later, Jessica got the news. She was surprised. Asher, taking the lead role in a movie? From what she knew of him, he hated complications. Combined with what she already suspected, this had Leo Flynn's name written all over it. Asher was just there to follow his plot. It's probably fine, she mused. What harm could Lena possibly do? Ping. Her phone buzzed. A message from Serafina Hayes. Jessica wasn't fond of Serafina. Why would she be? The woman was a direct competitor. But ever since she'd learned that Asher's love for Serafina was an act, the animosity had cooled slightly. Serafina, do you know what Asher is doing on Lena and set? Jessica's lips curved into a smirk. She typed back a reply. Jessica, I thought you weren't interested in Asher. Why should it matter to you what he does? This was war. Jessica wasn't about to hand over the man she loved ever again. Serafina, it doesn't. I'm just curious. Gossip. Serafina was being stubborn, but Jessica smelled danger. Jessica, you're not falling for my Asher, are you? He showed you kindness, even if it was an act, and you didn't appreciate it. You hurt him. Reading the message, Serafina stiffened. It was true. Asher had been kind to her. But what kind of kindness was that? On the surface, he was gentle, but in his head, he was calling her an idiot. If that was kindness, then what was the constant mental commentary? Emotional abuse. These past few days had been strange. Whenever she came home to the quiet living room, or saw the kitchen where Asher used to cook, a hollow feeling bloomed in her chest. Days had passed, and he hadn't come by. He wasn't even pretending anymore. It infuriated her. What did he take her for? Something to be used and discarded? She grew more and more agitated, feeling an overwhelming urge to do something to get back at him. Her motive, of course, was perfectly justified in her mind, to stop Asher from hurting any other women. Forcing down her anger, she replied, Serafina, I didn't message you to fight. Think about it. Who is closest to Asher right now? Scarlett Joe. Don't forget, they have a marriage contract. He stopped pursuing me. What do you think his next step is? Marrying Scarlett. They'll walk down the aisle. And even if you manage to steal him back from her, what will your marriage be? A second marriage. Is that the kind of happiness you want? The flurry of messages left Serafina breathless. The thought had come to her in a fit of anger, but it was terrifyingly logical. Jessica inhaled sharply. It was a horrifying thought. Without Serafina's warning, it might have been weeks before she realized the danger. Right now, most of her energy was focused on her career. How else was she going to support Asher? She needed to earn that dowry, to approach the Van Cess from a position of strength. She hadn't even considered that Scarlett could be making a move behind her back. No wonder Scarlett was always trying to stall for time. It was all about the wedding. The threat had always been there, but now it was staring her in the face. Scarlett Joe was not an easy opponent. Going at her alone would be a mistake, and the wedding date was getting closer. Jessica couldn't afford any major shakeups while she was busy building her empire. After taking a deep breath, she replied, Jessica, let's form an alliance. Serafina paused, unsure how to respond. Jessica didn't give her time to think. Jessica, no reply. Fine. The Hayes family needs resources, connections, money. Whatever you need, the Young family will provide. All I want is for you to work with me to destroy Scarlett's wedding plans. Serafina almost swore. She just wanted revenge on Asher. She wasn't actually in love with him. Why do these women always jump to conclusions? Still, the terms of the alliance were very tempting. Serafina, fine. We have a deal. Now, first things first. Tell me why Asher is on Lena and set. Jessica, what else? He auditioned for the lead role. But don't overthink it. I'm guessing Leo Flynn was there, so Asher went too. And Asher obviously won. Serafina, do you think the movie is, legit? Jessica, crap. With all this, I completely forgot to ask about the script. Serafina, well, what are you waiting for? Go find out. Jessica, strange. Why are you more worked up about this than I am? Serafina, alliance, remember? We're allies now. We're in this together. In a room crammed with high-tech electronics inside a luxurious New York villa, Kevin Gao sat hunched over a keyboard, his fingers flying across the keys in a furious clatter. His brow was furrowed in concentration. Damn it. This hacker the Dragon King found is almost as good as I am, he muttered. How many layers of encryption does this thing have? I've been at this all afternoon, and I'm still not through. He glared at the progress bar on his monitor. It was pathetic, stuck at 37% for what felt like hours. Kevin took a long gulp of milk, refueling. His young face was set with grim determination. I'm a master of offensive hacking. There's no way I can't break your defenses. Fine. Change of strategy. I'll intercept your data first, then run an analysis. Across the city, in a messy room that looked like a disaster zone, Raina Gao stared at her screen, huge dark circles under her eyes, but a manic grin on her face. Ooh, the little mouse wants to play a fence-to-fence with Grandma. Does he? Let's see how long you last. Watching the stream of incoming data, her fingers danced across her own keyboard, reinforcing her digital fortress. Not only that, she'd embedded a host of powerful software viruses of her own design. The moment her opponent breached the 50% mark, the viruses would be unleashed, designed to ravage their system and steal everything. Ah, there's my opening, she crowed. Nice try, little brother, but get ready to meet Grandma's special delivery. She chugged an ice-cold Coke, a feeling of pure exhilaration washing over her. The most vulnerable moment was during system reinforcement. Her opponent wasn't stupid. He wouldn't just sit back and wait for her to finish upgrading her defenses. Ha ha, who's laughing now? Kevin cackled as the progress bar on his screen shot forward. 43%, 46%, 48%, 50.01%. Just as a triumphant smirk spread across his face, his screen exploded with dozens of pop-up windows. The malicious code tore through his defenses in seconds. Within half a minute, smoke began to billow from his computer tower. Son of a bitch. You want to play dirty, huh? Kevin was so angry he could spit. He quickly jammed a custom USB drive into a port, but the pop-up stopped. A quick scan revealed that his own defenses had held just long enough to prevent any data from leaking. Reyna pursed her lips. Did that guy get lucky? I didn't manage to grab a single byte of data. This is no fun. Fine. Let's create a new virtual battlefield and play for real. It was a gamble. Reyna could just sit behind her defenses indefinitely, and he'd never get through. But in a virtual arena, one mistake from either side would expose their information to the other. A new battlefield materialized. Reyna jumped in first. Huh, you got guts, I'll give you that. You should have stayed behind your wall. Kevin scoffed when he saw the invitation. You're way too confident, little girl. Let's do this. He dove in without hesitation. In this game, hesitation was death. They immediately launched into a deadly chase, building defenses on the fly and blasting each other with offensive code. Both of them preferred attack over defense, so the virtual space quickly devolved into a chaotic, endless firefight. It wasn't long before the battlefield collapsed, the match ending in a draw. Impressive, but don't underestimate me, Kevin declared, creating a new arena. Reyna was inside the second it materialized. The war raged on, from afternoon into the evening. Kevin had taken a physical enhancement serum he developed, but his age was a limiting factor. The high-intensity battles were taking their toll. In what felt like the 100th virtual arena, Kevin entered and immediately tried to flee. It was as if he'd shown up to a gunfight with a full arsenal, only to drop all his weapons and run at the first shot. Reyna, her eyes now bloodshot, instantly spotted his weakness. Huh, trying to run, she snarled. Not on my watch. It's mine now. Her digital forces wheeled around, a relentless juggernaut that annihilated everything in its path. Kevin hastily threw up a temporary defense, hoping to buy himself a few seconds to escape. But Reyna's assault was too ferocious. The wall crumbled as soon as it appeared. Kevin didn't look back. He just ran for the exit. He knew he couldn't win a direct confrontation. Either you give me your location, or I take every file on your computer. Reyna's taunt flashed across his screen. You get to choose. You can't have both. Trying to run with everything is a fool's errand. A strange, feverish blush crept up Reyna's face, her eyes gleaming with an ecstatic light. This was her in her element. People always asked why a girl like her swore so much. The answer was simple. Too many years of dealing with idiot teammates in online games. If there were no chat bans, she could verbally eviscerate them until they regretted being born. Arg, God damn it. Kevin's eyes welled with tears. He was actually crying. He regretted this. He should have stopped hours ago. But it was too late. The files on his computer were too important. Even if he tried to wipe them, she was fast enough to grab fragmented copies, and any piece of that data was too critical to risk exposing. Fine, you win. Kevin gritted his teeth and chose to expose his location. The risk wasn't that Reyna would show up at his door. The risk was that by revealing his location, he was giving her a map of his network, making him vulnerable to future attacks. Let's see where you live, little brother. Reyna drooled theatrically. Let's see if I can't make your life a living hell. The address popped up on her screen. The Serenity House, number 13, Greenwich, Connecticut. Why does that sound so familiar? Reyna mumbled, scratching her head with a greasy, potato chip-dusted finger. She thought for a moment, and then her expression shifted from confusion to shock, and finally, to pure comedic horror. Isn't that my house? The pieces clicked into place. So, the person I've been fighting this whole time was my little brother? Oh crap. Did the old man send him after me? No, that doesn't make sense. If he wanted to catch me, he wouldn't use the internet. She ripped open another bag of chips, the loud crunch filling the silence. She'd always resented Kevin. He was the second child, the golden boy. After he was born, their parents had showered him with the world's best resources, the finest everything. Furious, Reyna had run away from home. She went from being a rich heiress to having nothing, forced to rely on herself for everything. That was why she was so obsessed with money. If she didn't hustle, how was she ever going to afford to get married? Gulp, gulp. She slammed the empty Coke bottle down on the desk and let out a loud burp. If he doesn't know my exact address, but came after me anyway, it's got to be because Leo Flynn sent him. Why the hell is that little brat mixed up with the Dragon's Den? She hadn't been home in 5 or 6 years. The Gao family was at the top of New York's second-tier elite, with business interests overseas. But since leaving, Raina had cut off all contact, vanishing completely. As long as she didn't want to be found, no one could find her. Out of chips again. She shook the empty plastic bag, then glanced at her stash. It was completely depleted. Looks like I'll have to go out tonight. She stretched, a satisfying crack echoing through the room. Knock, knock, knock. Uber Eats. Your delivery is here. Coming. Raina called out, heading for the door with 5 or 6 bulging black trash bags in her hand. The door swung open. The delivery guy's friendly smile instantly vanished when he saw her. Ahem. Miss, we deliver food. We don't do trash removal. Don't threaten me with a bad rating, she said before he could. It won't work. She then flashed a crisp $20 bill. A little something for your trouble. It was a well-practiced move. The old capitalist at work. A few moments later, the delivery guy, having lost his battle with economic reality, walked away with a bright, renewed smile on his face and a half-dozen trash bags in his hands. Young master, your chicken soup is here. A middle-aged man in a butler's uniform, Frederick, placed a bowl of soup on the table. Kevin stared at his rice with a melancholic expression, poking at it with his chopsticks. He had no appetite. Young master, Frederick said, confused. This used to be your favorite. Why aren't you eating? Kevin looked up, his voice listless. I'm not hungry today, Frederick, but you're a growing boy, Frederick insisted, pouring the soup into a smaller bowl and placing it in front of him. You just got back to the States. You need your nourishment. Kevin shook his head. This soup is very special, young master. Made from an organic breed imported from France. Your father instructed me to take good care of you. I'm not a child, Kevin sighed. Frederick was at a loss for words. It was true. Though Kevin looked like a kid, his mind was sharper than most adults, and his demeanor was worlds apart from others his age. May I ask if something is troubling you, young master? Frederick asked gently. Kevin sighed again. You can go now, Frederick. Seeing he wouldn't get anywhere, Frederick nodded and left the room. Kevin couldn't figure out why he had lost. After a long moment of contemplation, it hit him. It's my body. This damn body. My age is holding me back. I have to grow up faster. The next time we fight, I won't lose. God damn it. Finding the right direction is more important than effort. With this realization, Kevin channeled his frustration into his appetite and downed the bowl of poisonous chicken soup. Frederick, who hadn't left entirely, was peeking in from the doorway. Seeing the young master finally eat, a relieved smile spread across his face. He wouldn't have to report this to his father after all. After watching for another moment, he departed. Just then, Kevin's phone rang. Hello? What is it? He answered. Did you find Red Rose's address? It was Leo Flynn. Kevin's face flushed with embarrassment. He couldn't very well admit that not only had he failed, but he'd also exposed his own family's location. I just got home today. I'm taking a break. I'll get it for you tomorrow. Don't worry about that for now. I need your help with something else. What is it? I want you to use your high-tech gadgets to mess someone up. A warning. What do you have in mind? Leave him alive, but make him suffer. Make his life a living hell. Oh, and the payment? Kevin asked, casually pouring himself another bowl of soup. The line went silent. After a long pause, Leo finally spoke, his voice strained. Didn't I give you that meteorite from outer space? Business is business, Kevin said with a smirk. Leo's face must have been turning purple. He hadn't wanted to retaliate against Asher so quickly, but seeing him in the headlines with Lena and had pushed him over the edge. He couldn't stand it anymore. He was going to give Asher a taste of what was coming. Finally, Leo squeezed the words out through clenched teeth. Fine, get done. Name your price. Just don't ask for anything too outrageous. Kevin grinned. You can rest easy. My family does business with integrity. You get what you pay for. I won't take advantage of you. Oomph. See that you don't, Leo grumbled before giving Kevin the name of his target. Looking at the name, Kevin fell into deep thought. The Vance family? The biggest sharks in New York. This won't be easy. I can't leave any traces, and I have to be prepared for their insane retaliation. Scratch that last part. Even 2 Gao families combined couldn't stand up to them. The main thing is not leaving any evidence. Night fell over New York City. Inside the Yang Corporation Tower, Jessica paced her office. She hadn't been able to get any useful information out of Vic Liu. Every industry has its secrets, and even for a family as powerful as the Yangs, some doors remain closed. Is that movie legit or not? She wondered aloud. She tried inviting Lena out for dinner, but Lena had declined due to the night shoot. Jessica had subtly probed, asking about the film's content and Asher's role, stopping just short of asking if there were any heavy scenes or kissing involved. Because if there were, she'd shut the whole production down. Lena, for her part, had skillfully dodged every question. Her evasiveness only made Jessica more curious. Should I visit the set tomorrow? See what they're really up to. If she could just see Asher, she could read his thoughts and get the answer she needed. She just had to provoke him a little, and his inner monologue would spill everything. She was so close to victory, she wouldn't let another woman snatch it away. Not even an inch. Yes, that's what I'll do, Jessica murmured, her brow furrowed. She had to build her empire and protect her home front at the same time. It was exhausting. At the Hayes estate, Serafina sat on the edge of her bed, dressed in a white lace nightgown. Asher hadn't come to see her in days, and her life had reverted to its old, monotonous routine. Work, home, repeat. Before, she wouldn't have thought anything of it. But after everything that had happened with Asher, a subtle shift had occurred within her, a change that was now undeniable. It should be about time, she muttered, a faint blush on her icy face. Jessica should have some news by now. She had already constructed her excuse. She was cooperating with Jessica for the business resources to profit from the alliance. It definitely wasn't because she missed the meals Asher cooked or the sight of him buzzing around her. People are strange. When you have something, you take it for granted, even find it disposable. Only when it's gone do you realize how much you want it back. That was Serafina now. Perhaps it was because, after getting to know him, she realized Asher wasn't as bad as she'd thought. He wasn't like other men who only wanted her for her body. After all, she could hear his thoughts. Over time, her defenses had lowered. Sometimes she even found herself secretly listing his good qualities. I should ask Jessica what's going on, she thought. As if on cue, a message popped up on her phone. Jessica, I'm thinking of visiting Lena and set tomorrow. You coming? Am I coming? You make it sound like we're going to catch him cheating. Even though there's nothing between Asher and me, I can't let him corrupt another innocent woman. Serafina composed her thoughts and typed a reply. Serafina, what time? Jessica, morning probably. I'll send you the time and location when I have them, or I'll just text you when I get there. Serafina, so you couldn't find out about the script? Jessica, industry secret. My hands are tied. Serafina, fine. I suppose I can go. Jessica, actually I've changed my mind. You don't have to come. This is my personal business, after all. Serafina's face went rigid with fury. She threw her phone across the bed. You bitch, Jessica Young, she hissed through gritted teeth. Is it fun to play with me? You think I can't find the location without you? It's just a little more trouble. And what about our alliance? Was that just a joke? Speaking of the alliance, an idea sparked. She crawled across the bed, snatched up her phone, and fired off another message. Serafina, and the alliance? Was that a joke? The other end was silent for a full minute. Jessica, of course not. Jessica knew Scarlett Joe wouldn't be easy to deal with. This wasn't about which family was more powerful. If it were, Asher would already be hers. But Scarlett had the marriage contract. If they didn't work together to break it, Jessica couldn't make her move. A second marriage? No sane person would choose to be a second wife if they had the option of being the first, unless there was a massive gap in status or they were madly in love. And no one with options wanted someone else's sloppy seconds. Seeing the message, Serafina relaxed. She proposed that they visit the set together first, and then strategize about Scarlett. Jessica agreed. Meanwhile, a similar scene was playing out elsewhere. Chloe, Scar, you really don't know what my brother is doing over there. Scarlett, I know he's shooting a movie, but they're tight-lipped about the details. But it's easy enough to find out, isn't it? Come with me tomorrow to visit the set. We'll listen to your brother's thoughts and see what he was up to yesterday. Chloe, yes. Awesome. It's a date. See you tomorrow. Scarlett, perfect. I'm just about to wrap things up here anyway. Chloe, you've been busy with something too, Scarlett. Just a little business deal. It's in the final stages, but it can run itself now. What about you? Have you been busy? Chloe, a little. Not too bad. Scarlett. Okay. See you tomorrow then. We can grab dinner too. Chloe, good night, Scar. See you tomorrow. At the Vance estate, Chloe sat on the sofa in the living room and set her phone aside. Her mind was a mess. She had a terrible feeling. I hope I'm wrong. I hope this isn't Scarlett acting like she's already won. Why am I so paranoid, even after being reborn? Did she really leave that deep of a scar on me? Chloe held up her hand, measuring. TCH. Mine are bigger. Ahem. Back to the point. No matter how hard Scarlett worked in this life, she could never beat someone who had come back from the future with the entire script. Chloe was holding all the cards. If she still got beaten down by Scarlett, she might as well just fold and walk away. The next morning, at Disneyland in Anaheim, The day's shoot was taking place right in the middle of the park. The scene involved Asher and Lena in a sharpshooting competition at one of the carnival game stalls. Originally, Vic Liu had planned on using a smaller, less expensive amusement park. But with Asher's involvement, the budget for publicity and generating buzz was effectively zero. The money he saved could be reinvested into the production. For maximum visual impact, Vic didn't hesitate to burn through his newfound cash. The budget was on fire, but it was all for the sake of a masterpiece. Asher, in this scene, you and Lena will be in a shooting competition, hitting targets, Sophie Song explained, her eyes fixed on him. Of course, you just have to pretend to shoot. We'll add the effects in post-production. As she laid out the scene, Sophie couldn't help but remember the explosive physique Asher had revealed the day before. She found herself swallowing hard, her gaze repeatedly drifting to his midsection, even though he was fully clothed today. Asher noticed, of course, but what could he say? It would be mortifying to call her out, only to find out she was just checking if his shirt was tucked in properly. Got it, he said, more at ease than yesterday. After his first day on set, he felt like a veteran. Reciting lines and emoting for a character was child's play for an old pro like him. The set was ready. The crew was in position. Vic Liu came over to kiss up to Asher for a moment before grabbing his walkie-talkie. All right, everyone, positions. Let's get this show on the road, he barked. Scene 31 of The Agents, take 1. Action. The clapperboard snapped. The camera focused on Asher and Lena amidst a bustling crowd of extras. Lena shouldered the prop rifle, aiming at the target. This is my first time playing, she said, her voice a little shaky. Seeing Asher again made her cheeks burn. I'm a little rusty. Huh? Me too, baby, Asher replied, his expression and tone perfectly encouraging. Just relax. Inside, he was cringing. God, this dialogue is so cheesy. I've never said anything this sappy to any of the idiot women. And that's saying something. This director is a special kind of genius. He's cornered the market on cringe. I must be a masochist. I could be sleeping right now, but instead, I'm here shooting this crap. Ping. Congratulations, host. You have received plus $6.66 in cash. Vic Liu watched the monitor, mesmerized. Asher wasn't just holding his own against Lena. He was outshining her. Several times, Lena seemed to forget her next move, and Asher had to use subtle body language to guide her back on track. What's with Lena today? She's completely out of it, Vic muttered, frowning. Lena was getting paid a third of the film's profits. Her massive fan base, viral appeal, and acting talent usually made it a worthy investment. But today was not one of those days. You're right, she's not on her game, Sophie agreed. But on the other hand, Asher's ability to control the scene is insane. Are you sure he's not a professional actor? The assistant director stared at Asher, as if trying to unlock the secrets hidden within him. Meanwhile, not far away. Sorry, kid. We're shooting a movie in this area. You can't come through. Go play somewhere else, a security guard said, blocking a small boy. The boy was dressed like any other kid, with a Japanese-style backpack and a lollipop in his mouth. So this is the place. The boy mumbled. What place? Hey, where are your parents? The guard asked. Kevin Gao grinned. They went to the bathroom. Hey, mister, what movie are you guys filming? The guard, who was maybe 20, bristled at being called mister. His face darkened. Don't ask questions you're not supposed to ask. Tisich, stingy, Kevin muttered, turning away. He estimated the distance to Asher's location to be about 1,000 meters, just within the maximum effective range of his nanodrones. Finding an unmonitored corner, Kevin set down his backpack and pressed a button. The bag unfolded, revealing a high-tech interior that looked like something out of a spy movie. 2 tiny mosquito-like drones lifted out of a small case. Kevin put on a pair of glasses, and his vision switched to the drone's perspective. Heh, I'm an expert at messing with people. One of the drones flew towards a young couple, zeroing in on the man. Under Kevin's control, it landed silently on their intertwined hands. Public displays of affection are a capital offense. The nano-drone stung the man's palm. The young man flinched, his hand spasming, and he instinctively ripped his hand away from his girlfriend's. What the hell? His girlfriend exclaimed, her heart sinking. Oh, God, did he find out I've been sleeping with his best friend? Honey, what's wrong? She asked, her voice trembling. The young man came to his senses, looking at his palm. There was nothing there. I don't know. I think a bug bit me. But there can't be mosquitoes in the winter, right? His girlfriend's eye twitched. She rolled her eyes. Honey, you're always joking around. Of course, there are no mosquitoes in the winter. Ha, you're right, he said, scratching his head. The words had barely left his mouth when his body began to twitch uncontrollably. His eyes darted around and locked onto a nearby lamppost. With a joyful yelp, he sprinted towards it and began humping it like a dog in heat. A wave of screams erupted from the crowd, especially from the women. Ah, pervert! The young man was going to town on the lamppost, a man possessed. His girlfriend's face turned beet red, and she rushed over. Are you insane? What are you doing in public? The man was clearly conscious, but his body was not under his control. His expression was a mask of agony. I don't know, he wailed. I can't stop. Suddenly, a foul-smelling liquid trickled down his leg. It was what was left of his breakfast, now transformed into a biohazard. He had shit his pants. If he'd been unconscious, it would have been one thing. But being fully aware made this a complete and utter public humiliation. Social suicide, live and in person. The live feed transmitted through Kevin Gao's tactical glasses was deeply satisfying. The drug's formula is perfect. Fast-acting, he mused, but expensive. A single, high-precision nanodrone was costly to produce, not to mention the limited payload of the drug it could carry. But money made the impossible possible. He switched the visual feed. Sucking on his lollipop, Kevin maneuvered the second nanodrone toward the film set. It didn't take long to lock onto Asher Vance's silhouette. Showtime, Kevin thought with a wicked grin. Through the camera's lens, he guided the drone to Asher's neck. He activated the night vision feature, and the tiny drone dove in for the kill. Sting. It was almost too easy. This was the easiest money he'd ever made. He pulled the drone back out. As one of the top 10 combatants in the Dragon's Den, this was his signature style, high-tech sabotage, or if subtlety wasn't required, large-scale explosives. But the latter was messy and left a trail. Cunning was the true art form. Through the drone's feed, Kevin watched Asher scratch his neck. The drone had already retreated. He parked it on a nearby surface to continue surveillance. Let the show begin. Kevin couldn't suppress a smile. The Vance family wouldn't have a clue it was him. They'd be too busy trying to manage the PR nightmare of their national husband publicly humping a lamppost. Kevin could already imagine the headlines. 1 minute passed. 2 minutes passed. 5 whole minutes passed. The smile on Kevin's face slowly melted into a grimace. This can't be right. Asher is just a normal guy, isn't he? I just tested the drug, and it worked perfectly. It's impossible for it to have no effect. He couldn't figure out where he'd gone wrong. Maybe that particular drone had been faulty. He looked at the few remaining drones in his case. These high-tech toys were precious. He rarely used them. But he had no choice. He inspected the remaining drones to make sure they were functional, then sent 2 more out. God damn it, I'm gonna get you if it's the last thing I do. With the first drone as a scout, the next 2 quickly reached their target. Under Kevin's control, they slipped inside Asher's collar and delivered 2 more stings to his neck. In the feed, he saw Asher shiver slightly. A smile crept back onto Kevin's face. His eyes were wide, glued to the tactical glasses. That should do it, right? He whispered. Dance, you bastard. Dance for me. Come on, dance. Another minute passed. Damn it. Why aren't you dancing? Kevin was at his wit's end. He had no idea what was going wrong. I refuse to believe I can't get you today, he snarled, sending out his last 3 drones. Maybe there was something wrong with Asher's neck. A sting anywhere else should work just as well. He recalled the first batch of drones and sent the new ones in. In the drone's eye view, one of the tiny machines flew silently towards Asher's hand. It was just about to strike when the image suddenly lurched. It was as if someone had grabbed the camera itself. The feed now showed the face of an impossibly beautiful woman. The other 2 drones, still airborne, captured her from different angles. In one hand, she held a plastic bag filled with sodas. In the other, she was pinching something tiny between her fingers. The film crew erupted in chaos as the woman strode onto the set, interrupting the shoot. Shit, Kevin gasped, ripping the glasses off his face. In that last moment, his eyes had met the woman's through the drone's lens. It was as if she could see right through the camera, right to him, the puppet master behind the scenes. Kevin didn't doubt her power for a second. He knew who she was. Anya Kuznetsov, the world's #1 assassin. One of the Dragon's Den's most powerful assets. In that split second, he had felt her killing intent. Only one thought remained in his mind. Run. Kevin scrambled to pack up his equipment. He knew Anya. You could reason with others, but Anya didn't do dialogue. She was a force of nature. Once she set her mind to something, not even a freight train could stop her. And he had just seen undeniable murder in her eyes. Hesitation meant death. He didn't want to die. Whatever misunderstanding this was could be cleared up later. Right now, he had to run. Anya, what's wrong? Asher asked, bewildered. The scene had been going perfectly, and then Anya had stormed in and grabbed his hand. I caught a mosquito for you, Anya said, her usual flat tone now tinged with ice. She placed the plastic bag of drinks in his hand. I'm gonna go catch a rat. I'll be right back. Catch a rat? What rat? But Anya was already gone, disappearing into the crowd with astonishing speed. Her sudden appearance had thrown the entire crew for a loop. They had all been in the zone, and her interruption had shattered the moment. Vic Lu's face was purple with rage. Sophie Song looked equally furious. But neither of them dared to say a word. They had to swallow their anger and put on a smile. Given Asher's flawless performance, they couldn't exactly complain about a minor interruption from his bodyguard. Asher, your bodyguard. Vic began, his face a mask of strained pleasantry. She left. Let's shoot again, Asher replied. Right. Vic said cheerfully. I'll have them reset. We'll be ready in a minute. Asher opened a Sprite and took a long drink, the cold fizz a welcome sensation. A look of dawning comprehension crossed his face. So, it was just mosquitoes, he thought. That explains the weirdly cold sensation on my neck. When the first nanodrone had stung Asher, it wasn't that his body was immune to poison, or that Kevin's drugs were faulty. The truth was much simpler. The nanodrone was too weak. It couldn't break his skin. Asher's Iron Mantle skill had automatically deflected the tiny needle. You could drop him in the middle of a swamp, and he wouldn't have to worry about a single mosquito bite. The man's skin was harder than rock. The cold sensation he felt was just the drug leaking out onto his skin. It wasn't corrosive and would have evaporated without a trace. The perfect tool for a clean getaway. The crew was back in position. Vic Lu picked up his walkie-talkie, his heart pounding with excitement. All right, everyone places. Scene 36 of The Agents. Action. The actors took their marks, and the set once again buzzed with activity. At the perimeter of the set, the same security guard stood his post. I'm sorry, Miss. Young Ms. Hayes. The crew is filming. No one is allowed to approach. This time, the visitors were people he couldn't afford to offend. It wasn't just their status that made him stutter. It was their beauty. Jessica Young and Serafina Hayes were stunning. The kind of women who stood out in any crowd. Jessica smiled sweetly. I know they're filming. I don't want to make things difficult for you. Just go and let them know that I need to speak with Asher Vance. Another guard came over. After a brief, whispered conference, one of them hurried inside to pass on the message. Maybe I was overthinking it, Serafina muttered, glancing around. The scene was being shot out in the open. It looked like a perfectly legitimate movie. Jessica thought so too. Just then, before the guard could return, a cheerful, girlish voice called out. What a coincidence. Jessica, what are you two doing here? Jessica and Serafina turned to see Chloe Vance and Scarlett Joe approaching. History was repeating itself. The last time the four of them had been together like this was at the police station, bailing Asher out. I'm here to see your brother. I have something to discuss with him, Jessica said with a smile, her gaze shifting to Scarlett, who was also smiling. Scarlett met her gaze, her perfectly painted brick-red lips parting slightly. Something to say to my husband? You don't have to go to all this trouble. You can just tell me, and I'll pass along the message. Or we can do it this way. I'm not an unreasonable woman. Jessica didn't need to guess Scarlett's motives. She had laid her cards on the table at her birthday party. And with the news of a third massive oil discovery causing prices to plummet again, Scarlett clearly felt she no longer needed to be subtle. It was time to remind everyone who the future misses. Vance was. The others were just pretenders who would never have the blessing of the family. Jessica's eyes narrowed. You're that confident you can win Asher over? She scoffed. I knew him when you were still a nobody. Scarlett's smile was unwavering. It's not about confidence, she said, her tone playful. It's that your Asher was always mine. The air crackled with tension. Serafina and Chloe stayed silent, content to watch the two alpha females clash. They both wanted to fade into the background and avoid becoming collateral damage. Chloe was biding her time, waiting for the perfect moment to make her move. Serafina, on the other hand, was just trying to keep a low profile. After giving Asher the cold shoulder for so long, showing up now that she was having second thoughts was just embarrassing. The security guards were practically drooling. They had thought Jessica and Serafina were the pinnacle of beauty, but now two more goddesses had arrived. They couldn't believe their luck. All four of New York's most famous and powerful women, all here for Asher Vance. Damn, I'm jealous. Asher Vance is a lucky man. All four of these bombshells are here for him. Or you an idiot. One of them is his sister. So it's only three. Oh crap, which one is his sister? The one with the biggest assets. Jessica Young. You moron. Her last name is Young. Not Vance. I mean, her age. No, The guard trailed off, his voice dropping to a whisper as if he were walking on eggshells. His partner gave him a knowing look. The guard scanned the group again. It wasn't hard to figure out. When his eyes landed on Chloe, He almost had a nosebleed. He felt like an idiot. His partner's hint had been obvious. My God, the Van Cess must feed their kids well. Duh, they're the top family in New York. Of course their food is good. A pair of eyes shot in their direction, and the two whispering guards froze. It was Chloe. She was looking at them with an amused smile. A cold sweat broke out on their foreheads. How could she have heard them from that distance? Maybe she hadn't, but they didn't dare look at her again. Just then, the guard who had gone inside returned. Ms. Yeah, Ms. Hayes, you can go in. Director Lou said it's okay for you to visit the set. His voice trailed off as he noticed the group had doubled in size. This is Asher's sister, Chloe Vance. She's here to visit too, Jessica said, pointedly ignoring Scarlett. And you are? The guard asked Scarlett. Asher's fiancée, Scarlett Jo. Oh, Ms. Jo. My apologies, I didn't recognize you. Please, all of you go right in. The guard, remembering Vic Lou's frantic instructions not to bother him with stupid questions and to just let any VIPs through, waved his colleagues over to clear a path. At the east gate of Disneyland. That was too close, Kevin Gao panted, shouldering his backpack as he fled the park. Why would Nemesis look at me with such killing intent? Has she gone crazy? Even with his physically enhanced body, he was still just a kid. He ducked into the thickest part of the crowd, using the other parkgoers as cover. After weaving through the flow of people for a while, he glanced back several times. Seeing no one suspicious tailing him, he finally let out a sigh of relief. Disneyland had multiple exits. He didn't believe Anya could possibly guess which one he'd use. The most important thing now was to contact the Dragon King. He didn't know if that murderous glare had been his imagination, but he wasn't willing to bet his life on it. Winning the bet got him nothing, but losing it cost him everything. Only Leo Flynn could control Anya. There had to be a misunderstanding, and he needed Leo to mediate. Kevin didn't want to die. He had a whole life of luxury ahead of him, and he still hadn't finished developing his dream high-tech battle armor. In short, he was terrified. He dialed Leo's number. After a few rings, the call connected. Dragon King, you have to help me, Kevin said, hurrying toward where his driver was parked. There was a long silence on the other end. Then Leo's surprised voice. What happened? Didn't I tell you to go mess with that rich kid, Asher Vance? Don't tell me you failed. Kevin's face turned beet red. There was a small complication. What the hell? Don't tell me you couldn't handle one useless playboy. He's just a normal person. Leo's voice was laced with fury. If word got out that one of his top 10 combatants couldn't even handle a civilian, the Dragon's Den would become a laughingstock. A primal fear for his life made Kevin raise his voice. Just listen to me. Leo paused, sensing the gravity in his tone. Fine. Talk. Kevin spotted his car and quickened his pace. Nemesis. She has a prob. Just as he was about to reach the car, a fair, delicate hand landed on his shoulder. A long index finger and thumb closed around his neck. Kevin froze, a chill running down his spine. He stiffly tilted his head back. A beautiful woman's face came into view. She was expressionless, gorgeous, but to Kevin, she looked like a demon from a nightmare. It was Anya. She had appeared out of nowhere. Kevin, you were saying? What's wrong with Nemesis? Leo's confused voice came from the phone. Anya stared down at him, her lips moving silently. In that moment, Kevin became a master lip reader. She said only 2 words. Want to die? Who the hell wants to die? What kind of question was that? And how, with such low odds, had she found him? Kevin's lips trembled. He didn't need any more prompting. He knew exactly what to say to Leo. It's nothing. I was just packing up my gear. I'm going to go back and get something more powerful. Oh, okay. Go get it, then, Leo said distractedly, clearly in the middle of hitting on a girl. They both hung up quickly. Kevin swallowed hard, his face a mask of calm, but his heart hammering. Nemesis, what is the meaning of this? You're going back to get new equipment? Anya asked, completely ignoring his question. His instinct screamed that the wrong answer would be his last. If I say no, I live. If I say yes, I lose my head. I was just lying to the Dragon King. He squeaked, his voice cracking. Tell me what you were doing here. The short version. From the beginning. Nemesis, are you betraying him? Kevin asked in disbelief. He wasn't stupid. He could connect the dots. Anya's grip tightened. Kevin felt the air being squeezed from his lungs. The silent pressure was terrifying. He had no doubt she could snap his neck whenever she pleased. Cough. I'll talk. Kevin's face was pale with fright. He told her everything, leaving nothing out. Between the Dragon's Den and his own life, the choice was obvious. He wasn't a die-hard loyalist like Manny Marcos. He had only joined the organization to get a legitimate front for selling his obsolete high-tech weapons to his underlings. In moments, he had sold out Leo Flynn completely. The attack had been Leo's idea, He was too proud to do such a thing himself, so he'd outsourced the dirty work. Kevin had just been the hired gun. When Anya heard about the plan to inject Asher with the drug, her grip tightened again. This time, Kevin truly thought his life was over. It was all the Dragon King's idea, he babbled, trembling. I was possessed. Killing me won't do you any good, and I swear, I will never take a job like this again. Anya's fingernail lightly traced a line across his neck. A thin trickle of blood welled up. Asher is my prey. Understand? Kevin nodded frantically. I understand. He didn't understand a damn thing, other than that he wanted to live. He'd agree to anything. I don't like it when people play with my prey, Anya said, her tone still flat. She paused. You have a nice arm. Kevin nearly burst into tears. He knew exactly what she meant. In a surge of adrenaline, he lunged forward, deliberately tripping himself, twisting in midair so that his right elbow would take the full force of the impact. He slammed into the pavement with a sickening crack. The searing pain made him scream, but he knew it was the better option. A broken bone could be set. If Anya had done herself, he knew the outcome would have been far, far worse. Whoa, whose kid is that? What's the big hurry? See, you fell. Oh my God, I swear I heard a bone snap. Is he okay? Dude, I know you want to laugh. Just let it out. That was messed up, but I'm with you. The crowd of onlookers stared, dumbfounded. Breaking news. Absolute moron spotted in the wild? I mean, look at this sidewalk. It's wide, smooth, not so much as a crack to trip on. A few people had even witnessed Kevin Gao's bizarre maneuver, planting his left foot directly on top of his right. The kid didn't look like an idiot, but he'd just done something profoundly idiotic. Sympathy was in short supply. Of course, that was only a minority opinion. Plenty of good Samaritans rushed forward to ask if he needed help. Kevin struggled to his feet, his face a mask of misery. Tears welled in his eyes, partly from the searing pain, but mostly from sheer terror. He ignored the clamoring crowd, whipping his head around to look for Anya. But she was gone, vanished. He scanned the area one more time, and when he confirmed Anya was truly gone, the tears finally spilled over. They were tears of relief, of pure, unadulterated joy. Holy crap, he just stared death in the face and lived to tell the tale. The memory of being in the presence of the world's top assassin sent a fresh wave of panic through him. He had to get out of here. Now, shoving his way through the crowd, Kevin limped back toward his car, ignoring the agony shooting up his arm. He yanked open the door of the high-end black sedan and collapsed into the seat, his face finally contorting in pain. HSSSS. It hurts like hell. Huh, mister. Gao, what happened to you? The driver, who had been dozing, snapped awake. Get me to the nearest orthopedic clinic. Now, Kevin ordered through gritted teeth. The driver, asking no questions, buckled up and sped off toward the closest hospital. Ping. His phone chimed with a new message. Kevin fumbled for it with his good left hand. He glanced at the screen. The sender was listed as Nemesis. Oh God, it was from Anya. Normally, Anya didn't give people choices. Life or death was entirely at her whim. The fact that she'd let him go was a miracle that had left Kevin giddy with relief. He read the message. Nemesis, how did you break your arm? A muscle in Kevin's jaw twitched. You gotta be kidding me. You have the nerve to ask? His expression was uglier than a crying clown's. He tried using voice-to-text to reply. I fell and broke it myself by accident. The intense pain made his words come out as a garbled slur. The speech recognition software produced a mess of gibberish. Overwhelmed with a fresh wave of misery, Kevin deleted the garbled text and painstakingly typed out his reply with one hand. A moment later, another message came through. Nemesis, did you see me today? This is outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. Kevin fumed, wanted to jump up and down. The slight movement sent a shockwave of agony through his arm, and he hissed. When had he ever been this humiliated? But anger was a luxury he couldn't afford. He had to reply, and fast. Mole, never. I didn't see a thing. The messages stopped. Kevin let out a long, shaky breath. Honestly, whether Anya betrayed the dragon's den or not meant nothing to him. It was just a stepping stone, a sandbox for him to test his weapons and trade resources. He was never going to waste his entire life there. Well, Leo, looks like I can't finish my mission, Kevin muttered to himself, his tone devoid of any guilt. I don't want to. You're on your own, buddy. Risking his life for a few raw materials? Not worth it. Not even close. Meanwhile, on the film set, the extras and crew were completely distracted. For goddesses had descended upon them, and all attention was now focused on the newcomers. Director Vic Liu had prepared a speech to get everyone back on track, but the arrival of 2 more VIPs had thrown him for a loop. Filming was officially on hold. He yelled, "Cut!" and announced a break for the whole crew. Then he motioned Asher over. This mess started with him. He could deal with it. Vic wanted no part of this drama. It was terrifying. Asher, for his part, was utterly bewildered to see the four of them approaching. Is today some kind of holiday I missed? Leo Flynn's already gone, and I don't have any more scenes today. So why are you all here? He thought. Did you get the wrong address? It is. Scarlett Jo announced, stepping forward. She beamed at Asher. Our wedding day is just around the corner, and I wanted to discuss venues. And we need to decide if you prefer a Western-style ceremony or a more traditional one. I wouldn't mind doing both, of course. Asher and the other women stared, jaws slack. Especially Asher. What the hell is she talking about? Is this her idea of a proposal? Ahem. Jessica Young was not amused. Scarlett, are you here just to cause trouble? Scarlett shrugged. That's your interpretation. Jessica's eyes narrowed. The two of them were already squaring off, and the crew was watching the whole thing, mesmerized. They all knew who Jessica Young and Scarlett Jo were, the heiresses to two of the four great families. What was going on? Why were they fighting over one guy? Did we miss the memo that he's the last man on Earth? A few of them wondered. I mean, we're not so bad. Okay, maybe that was a stretch. But seeing two goddesses from New York's high society get into a catfight was a rare spectacle. Even Vic Lu and Sophie Song were watching with undisguised curiosity. Asher knew that trying to reason with either Jessica or Scarlett was a losing battle. Offending either one was a bad idea. An old saying came to mind. Always pick the softest persimmon. He turned to his sister, Chloe. What's going on? Why are you all here? Chloe grinned, revealing two sharp little canines. Her tone was dripping with mock grievance. Well, if a certain someone hadn't been staying out all night instead of coming home, we wouldn't have to. Then the paparazzi caught you on a movie set. Word on the street is you're having the time of your life, about to become a big star. Asher's head was starting to hurt. What are you even talking about? What damn big star? He fumed internally. I'm just trying to make a movie to piss off Leo Flynn. Chloe, do you really have to mock your own brother like this? His expression darkened as he shot a suspicious glare at Vic Lu. Did the director start this rumor? Vic, you're trying to frame me, aren't you? Noticing Asher's accusatory gaze, Vic Lu, who had been enjoying the show, was completely baffled. He hadn't invited these women. Even if he had, it's not like they would have accepted. As Vic's mind raced, Asher felt a sudden chill. Three hostile glares were now fixed on him. Scarlett, Jessica, and Serafina. Chloe's careless words about him not coming home had landed. Darling, when did you move out? Why didn't you tell me? Scarlett asked, her smile dangerously sweet. Jessica's gaze was sharp, and her words were dynamite. If you don't want to stay at your house, you can always stay at mine. Or we could get a place together. Serafina just looked at Asher, then at the other girls, and swallowed the words on the tip of her tongue. Faced with him now, she didn't know what to say. Damn, Asher Vance is the real deal. So the rumors about Jessica Young proposing weren't just rumors. Hiss, why does he look so miserable, though? If you don't want them, give them to me. Dude, go home and sleep it off. You're dreaming. Whispers rippled through the onlookers. The men on the crew could feel tears of envy streaming from the corners of their mouths. Chloe saw her opening and twisted the knife. There are lots of reasons Asher would move out, she said with a grin. Like making it more convenient to have friendly little chats with other girls. The fact that Asher had been gone for days had infuriated her. She was supposed to be using the evenings when he came home from work to deepen their bond. And then, poof, he was gone. To make matters worse, she'd been too busy helping Victor Stone tie up loose and to go find him. The air grew thick with tension. Asher sucked in a sharp breath. Captain Chloe, you're trying to frame me, aren't you? He thought, his internal voice dripping with sarcasm. Wait, crap, my last name is Vance, too. Okay, Captain Vance, are you trying to frame me? Don't you know damn well why I haven't been home? I'm praying the protagonist gets his act together and just takes my sister away already. Seriously, what's the next scene? Why are all these heroines gathered here? Just to visit the set? Ping. Congratulations, host, for obtaining personal charm +1. Ping. Congratulations, host. Your charisma has reached a new threshold. You have obtained the title, the Walking 24-Karat Dreamboat. Effect 1. When this title is equipped, you will unconsciously increase the goodwill of others. The closer the person, the stronger the effect. Effect 2. For people or beings who are suckers for a pretty face, the goodwill effect is massively amplified. Do you wish to equip this title? Asher blinked. A title? What the hell was this? And was it even legit? For days, the system had been playing dead, dumb, or mute. The last time he'd asked it a question, it had just spammed him with pings until he'd cleverly deciphered its meaning. If he hadn't, he'd still be lost in this train wreck of a plot. Hello, McFly? Anybody home? You useless system? What the hell is this title? I'm a villain. Is it really appropriate to give me a hero's title? He tried to communicate with the system, but got nothing but silence. Fine. He'd figured out himself. He decided not to equip the title just yet. Something about it felt off. Meanwhile, Asher's inner thoughts had just thrown Chloe under the bus. The three glares that had been focused on him now shifted in unison, landing squarely on Chloe. Chloe, meow, meow, meow. She'd overplayed her hand. She'd thrown a rock that had landed squarely on her own foot. A memory of their recent kiss flashed through her mind, and a blush crept up her cheeks. She cleared her throat softly. I think I can explain. Asher was confused. Weren't you just grilling me? I haven't even said anything. What do you have to explain? Scarlett's eyebrow arched. She took Chloe's hand and led her to a quiet corner. Chloe didn't resist, letting the she-devil lead her away. And just like that, the two witches, one big and one small, temporarily left the scene. Asher breathed a momentary sigh of relief. His childhood friend wasn't so bad. The truly terrifying ones were the she-devil and the little witch. If those two ever teamed up, Asher was pretty sure he'd be dead. The very thought was horrifying. He decided not to dwell on it. Besides, that was his own sister. And a heroine. What was there to think about? Nothing. In the corner, Scarlett released Chloe's soft hand, her brow still furrowed. Chloe, what's really going on? What did you do to your brother? Asher's inner voice had been vague, but it was suggestive enough to make one's mind wander. The system automatically filtered out most thoughts unrelated to the plot. Otherwise, Scarlett wouldn't have even needed to ask. Chloe's body tensed, her mind racing. Okay, since you all know, I might as well drop the act. That's right, I'm the infamous Siscon. We're not blood-related, so it doesn't count. That's right, I'm laying my cards on the table. I like Asher, too. Surprised? Shocked? Didn't see that coming, did you? Of course, saying that would only grant her a moment of shock value for Scarlett. It wouldn't help her win Asher at all. In fact, it would just put Scarlett on high alert. That would be a stupid move. In less than a minute, Chloe had her story ready. Oh, you know, // Q, she said, feigning embarrassment. Big sis Scarlett, you're not actually going to believe my brother's nonsense, are you? Scarlett's face was stern. Yes, she said flatly. I absolutely believe him. Chloe's eyelid twitched. She quickly changed her tune. Okay, here's what happened. My brother had a little disagreement with Mom and Dad the other day. Plus, he figured he didn't have to play Seraphina's devoted lapdog anymore. So he decided to take a few days to himself to relax. Chloe knew Scarlett's personality inside and out. Using their parents, Lawrence and Eleanor, was a safe bet. To make it even more convincing, she threw Seraphina into the mix, completely blindsiding Scarlett. Scarlett was still skeptical and was about to press further, but this time, Chloe took her hand. Big sis Scarlett, we've been over here for too long. Are you really okay with leaving my brother alone with big sis Jessica? In my eyes, you're the only future sister-in-law I'll accept. Even though I've known Jessica longer, I still think you and my brother are a better match. Chloe was pulling out all the stops to dispel Scarlett's suspicions. Just you wait, she thought. Just let me get through this phase. Once I make my move, all of you other women will be crying your eyes out. Asher's inner monologue had unwittingly answered the questions burning in Jessica's and Seraphina's minds. His motive for making the movie was pure. Lena was a heroine in this world, and to sabotage the budding relationship between the protagonist Leo Flynn and Lena, he had partnered with her to make a movie that would drive Leo crazy. It was classic Asher. Exactly the kind of thing he would do. With Scarlett momentarily occupied, Jessica saw her chance and seized it. Ash, I have my dowry already. When are you going to come and marry me? You promised back in elementary school you'd make me your wife when we grew up. You're not going to back out now, are you? Jessica stared at him intently, closing the distance between them until she was right in front of him. Asher panicked, all thoughts of the system's new title vanishing from his mind. When had he ever said something like that? He racked his brain, searching his childhood memories. Given his free-spirited, reckless nature back then, it was entirely plausible he'd done something so audacious. And then he remembered. It was true. At the time, the young Asher, resentful of his future fate of being trampled and humiliated by the protagonist, had hatched a plan. He figured since he was just going to go home after the plot was over anyway, he might as well get a head start. He decided to plant his flag early. He had, in fact, tried to woo Jessica. The curriculum at their elite private elementary school was different from most. It was open-ended, designed to groom future corporate heirs, not employees. Young Asher had been brilliant, easily becoming the center of attention in his class. He and Jessica were deskmates, a perfect setup. It was easy to plant a few ideas in the mind of an innocent little girl, filling her head with grand, romantic promises. "I'm going to marry you when we grow up, no matter what." "What's that? Your dad will stop me?" "No way. I'll just have to defeat your dad. I'll overcome any obstacle that stands in my way." Of course, the young Jessica, a devoted daughter, couldn't agree to that. The idea was thrilling. Her eyes had gone wide with a sense of cinematic drama, but her parents were good to her. But Asher was a natural at charming girls, especially little ones. It was child's play for a man with the soul of a 20-something adult. He wasn't actually going to fight anyone. He just changed his pitch. The little boy version of Asher whispered 2 words: "We'll elope." He'd then explain the concept to the little girl version of Jessica, weaving adapted tales of Romeo and Juliet, of star-crossed lovers from another world. He barely remembered the details, but it was enough to captivate her. The memories faded, bringing him back to the present. Asher was filled with regret. He never, ever thought Jessica would one day call him on that old promise. It hadn't happened in his previous life, but it was happening now. How strange was that? A blush crept up his face. "We were just kids," he said awkwardly. "Childhood promises don't count." Serafina was stunned. How could this have happened without her knowing? Then again, back then she found Asher incredibly annoying and was constantly thinking of ways to get rid of him. She wouldn't have cared about his private life. Lena, and resting nearby, was equally shocked. Jessica hadn't been whispering. Anyone paying attention could hear her. Vic Lou and the entire crew silently gave Asher a thumbs up. When they were kids, they were playing in the dirt, segregating themselves by gender. The boys who hung out with girls were ostracized. Who knew that childhood was the prime time for honing your social skills? If they'd known, maybe some of them wouldn't still be single. Serafina's face hardened. She knew this feeling all too well. "Player," she spat. On the previous matter, she felt she had no right to speak. But when it came to promises, no one had more of a right than her. Asher had made her plenty of promises. They were all in act, but he'd said the words. He'd whispered sweet nothings, practically offering to pluck the stars from the sky for her. And now, a new girl smiled by his side, while the old one was forgotten. Use them and lose them. A muscle in Asher's jaw twitched. He felt an urgent need to clarify their relationship. The lapdog act was over. It should have been over after the birthday party, but there had been a few complications. Given the system's merciful nature, it would probably let him slide. All he had to do was tough it out and finish the rest of the plot. The lapdog show is over, so I'm done acting. Asher's face became serious. He cleared his throat. Serafina, I chased you relentlessly, but you always treated me with indifference. You were blind and deaf to my love. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I finally found someone I wanted to love, but she gave me nothing in return. A broken heart, no matter how you patch it up, still has scars. So, if you have no heart, you can't get hurt. He was a master actor, playing the part of the devoted simp who was finally pushed to his limit. He delivered the lines with raw, escalating emotion, making everyone believe he was a man truly, deeply wounded by Serafina. It was a classic case of love turning to hate. His performance resonated with some of the extras. They had chased their own goddesses, been simps themselves, and the end result was always the same. Nothing. Hiss. Sob. I was wrong. It's not the world's fault. Even with a huge wealth gap, the fate of a simp is to end up with nothing. Poor Mr. Vance. He's using his own painful experience to enlighten the rest of us. That's right. Simping transcends class and wealth. If you dare to be a simp, your destiny is to have nothing. The veteran simps in the crowd were moved to tears. Love couldn't win over a goddess. Money couldn't either. Only being a fool. Wait, Asher didn't seem like a fool. So that theory was out. You weren't sincere when you were chasing me. So I didn't say yes, Serafina said suddenly. If you had been sincere, I would have accepted a long time ago. Asher. Meow, meow, meow. What the hell, lady? Are you trying to kill me with kindness right now? Asher was completely thrown. Jessica was dumbfounded. I brought you here for this. Is this how you help an ally? So you're saying there's no chance for you two? A melodious voice cut through the tension. Scarlett had returned, heels clicking on the pavement, just in time to witness the scene. She would not allow Asher to go back to being Serafina's lapdog, not even for an act. Good job. Perfect timing. Asher thought, relieved. You saved me, you she-devil. As for you, you foolish woman, what's gotten into you today? Just stick to your Ice Queen CEO role. I don't dare accept your affections. Serafina's near confession had terrified him. How was he supposed to respond to that? He couldn't. According to the lapdog character script, his next line would probably be to forgive her. That was the last thing he wanted. Ping. As the host has not made a selection, the title, the walking 24-karat dreamboat, has been automatically equipped for you. Once equipped, this title cannot be removed manually. It can only be replaced by acquiring a new title. Asher was stunned. This damn system really knew how to stir up trouble. Did he need a title? He hadn't even had a chance to figure out if it would cause problems. Don't make decisions for me. He pleaded with the system internally, but it was useless. It continued to ignore him. The moment the title was equipped, a subtle shift occurred. The people around Asher suddenly felt an inexplicable sense of warmth toward him. The feeling was strange, almost magical. Hey, is it just me? Or does Asher look especially handsome today? Are you blind? You're only just noticing? My man has always been this handsome. Little sis is Mr. Vance handsome. Of course he is. Good. Get a good look while you can, because he's the kind of man you'll never have in your life. The crew members couldn't help but whisper among themselves. Something about Asher felt different, though they couldn't quite put their finger on it. For the women who were genuinely in love with him, however, the change was dramatic. A restless energy surged within them, an overwhelming desire to pull him into their arms. Their possessiveness toward him soared to unprecedented heights. Seraphina's expression returned to its usual cool indifference. I was talking to Asher, not you. Scarlett shot her a look. As a woman, she knew exactly what Seraphina was thinking. In your dreams. And I was talking to my husband, Scarlett retorted. Not you. Watching the future heiresses of New York's great families bicker was certainly entertaining. But it was long past lunchtime. Man does not live on drama alone. If you're not enthusiastic about eating, what can you be enthusiastic about? With Scarlett and the others stirring the pot, Vic Lu knew there was no way they could continue filming today. He approached Asher, a sheepish smile on his face. Mr. Vance, it's lunchtime. Maybe we should let the crew take a break. His tone and attitude made it sound as if Asher were the director, and he was just some random guy. What? It's lunchtime already. Asher looked at him, surprised. Director Lu, you're the director here. If it's time for lunch, then let everyone take a break. We're not hungry, Mr. Vance. Please, continue the show, Mr. Vance. Who needs lunch, Mr. Vance? Just looking at you fills me up. You can check my heart rate if you don't believe me. The crew members were fired up, their energy palpable. Vic Lu's eyelid twitched as he glared at the troublemakers. What are you all doing? Staging a mutiny? If you don't want lunch today, you can forget about eating for the rest of the shoot. His threat was surprisingly effective. The crew immediately fell silent. Skipping one lunch was fine, but going hungry every day, they'd starve. Principles were great, but food was better. Asher tried to slip away with the crew to grab a meal, but Chloe stopped him. You can't go. Asher's eye twitched. Chloe, don't mess around. Your brother has been acting all day. I'm starving. Jessica chimed in with a cheerful smile. That's easy to solve. Come have lunch with me, Ash. There's a hotel nearby with fantastic food. I've been there many times. Scarlett shot back. Just because you've been there many times only means it suits your taste, Jessica. It might not suit Asher's. Why don't you go by yourself? Asher was about to lose his mind. The protagonist's backyard is on fire. Isn't he going to do something about this? You all go without me, Asher said, making a break for it. Of the 36 stratagems, fleeing was the best. The women looked at each other. Lena and also tried to leave, but Jessica stopped her. Lena, come have a bite with me. There are a few things I'd like to ask you. Scarlett immediately countered. Just a meal? You have to interrogate her too? Lena, have lunch with me. I'm much more easygoing. I won't make things difficult for you. The two were at each other's throats again. Lena's face fell. Offending either the Zhou or the Yang family was a terrible idea. Just as she was struggling for a response, Chloe stepped in to mediate. Why don't we do this? We all eat together. Big sis Jessica, big sis Scarlett, you can ask whatever you want. Jessica sidestepped, casting a glance at Scarlett. Chloe is so considerate, unlike some people who act like a sister-in-law before they've even married into the family. Scarlett smiled sweetly. You're right. Chloe may be young, but her thinking is very big, much bigger than your childish mindset. Bigger by more than just a little bit. The implication was clear. Chloe was number one in that department, and Scarlett was a close second. Compared to her, Jessica was lagging behind. Seraphina, of course, was in last place. Chloe was crying tears of joy on the inside. Big sis Scarlett, you're the best. You finally admitted defeat for once. Jessica gritted her teeth. So what if you're bigger? You think Asher is that shallow? I have other ways to win. But I should ask him his opinion first, otherwise it'll all be for nothing. Jessica forced a laugh. I believe I was born a day before you, wasn't I? Little sister. Oh, my apologies. Little sisters are meant to be cherished. I didn't mean to be older than you. Right, little sister? Welcome. Do you lovely ladies have a reservation? If not, We have private rooms or seating in the main hall. The hostess was momentarily stunned. Then her face broke into a professional, welcoming smile. The 5 women before her were breathtakingly beautiful. Good Lord, what kind of celestial lineup was this? 4 tall, elegant women and one impossibly well-endowed Lolita. All of them were goddess tier. Jessica turned to Scarlett behind her, her smile devastatingly charming. Little sister, what's your opinion? Big sister can't decide where to sit. Ugh, this damn Jessica, Scarlett thought, annoyed, using that one-day age difference to call me little sister over and over. But still, 2 could play at that game. Scarlett's mind spun, and she smiled, playing along. Big sister, I prefer a private room. Admitting Jessica was her elder wasn't so humiliating. For one, it made her sound old. Later, she could just start calling her an old hag. But Scarlett disdained winning with mere words. She preferred to crush her opponents with her own assets. She had the capital. She had the power. She stood up straight, head held high. Bring it on. As she spoke, she deliberately pushed her chest out. Jessica saw right through the gesture. Go ahead, show off. What if Ash doesn't even like your type? I can still change. You're stuck. Unless you want to go under the knife. Then big sister will indulge you, Jessica said, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. To an outsider, they looked like the closest of sisters. In reality, their relationship was pure plastic. Whoa, holy crap. Isn't that CEO Yang and CEO Zhou? Are my ears broken? Did they just call each other sisters? Amazing. I always thought the 4 great families were constantly at each other's throats, trying to ruin one another. Guess I was wrong. Damn, look at those legs. I wonder which lucky bastard is going to end up with such incredible women. Son of a bitch, why isn't it me? Dude, don't be an idiot. They're the kind of women you'll never get in your entire life. The diners in the main hall were weeping tears of envy. The hostess led the women to a large private room. The decor was impressive. After seating them, the hostess left, and soon another waitress in a chic cheapao entered, carrying a teapot and menus. Big sister, you can ask your questions later. Let's order first, Scarlett said. Her eyes narrowed charmingly. Jessica smiled. Of course, little sister. Eating and chatting suits me just fine. By the way, little sister, I take back what I said before. I thought you didn't know how to take care of a younger sister, but I was wrong. It's good that you do. After all, there's so many diseases out there these days. Better to be safe than sorry. It would be a shame if you spread something to Ash. Scarlett nodded. I see why your family is in the cosmetics business, big sister. You must age quickly and need to produce your own supply. It's true. Older women do age faster, especially old hags who are lacking in certain assets. Chloe, here we go again. Serafina, thank God I'm staying out of this. I don't think I could keep a straight face. Lena and these are the CEOs everyone looks up to? They have no class. Is fighting over a man really worth it? Waitress in cheapao. Abba, maka maka. Ladies, would you 3 like to order first? The waitress asked, turning her hopeful gaze to Chloe, Serafina, and Lena. They seemed normal. Just as Chloe was about to agree, Scarlett's voice rang out. I'll do it. Jessica smiled. Little sister, let's look together. We can order at the same time. Onij, no problem, big sister, Scarlett replied with a bright smile. The animosity from moments before had vanished, as if it were a joke. The waitress even started to doubt her own ears. Maybe their words weren't as hostile as they sounded. See? They were getting along just fine. Here, waitress, take this down, Scarlett said, pointing at the menu. We'll have this, and that one looks good too. Let's get them all. Jessica watched her order, the corner of her mouth twitching. Scarlett acted nonchalant. Big sister, you look like a delicate flower. These dishes are very nourishing. If you find them hard to swallow, you can order something else. You have to take care of that precious body of yours. Don't be stubborn. Jessica smiled back at her. If you dare to eat it, why wouldn't I? These dishes look quite appetizing to me. Is there anything you can eat that I can't? The waitress took the menu, her face a mask of shock and confusion. Ladies, are you sure you want to order these? And in such large quantities? Scarlett nodded magnanimously. Yes, please bring them out as soon as possible. Jessica then turned to the other 3. By the way, Chloe, what would you all like to eat? Chloe and the others swallowed hard. Big sis Jessica, did you order a lot? Chloe asked. Jessica nodded. Quite a lot. Definitely enough for the 5 of us, with leftovers. Chloe thought for a moment. That's fine. Anya is coming later. I invited her. Lena and blinked, looking at Chloe curiously. Chloe explained. Anya Kuznetsov. Lena replied. I know who she is. I'm just surprised she's coming. Serafina said. Since you've ordered, I have nothing to add. She figured if they could eat it, so could she. The waitress sucked in a breath, her expression growing stranger. Scarlett snapped her fingers. Oh, and that soup we checked off. Bring 3 more servings of that. There will be 6 of us. 1 won't be enough. The waitress was completely floored. Wow, you ladies have some truly unique tastes. Jessica, seeing this, took a sip of tea and casually added, Little sister, that's not right. How can 4 servings of soup be enough for 6 people? 1 for each of us. My treat today. The waitress's eyes widened, as if she were looking at monsters. Chloe, Serafina, and Lena exchanged glances. They had a sinking feeling that the dishes Scarlett and Jessica had ordered were not exactly conventional. Otherwise, why would the waitress look so horrified? They wanted to see the menu, but Jessica urged the still-dazed waitress along. Hurry up and get it ready. Bring the food out as soon as possible. We haven't had a single bite of food all day. The waitress snapped out of it, nodded at Jessica, and quickly left. Wait, Chloe tried to stop her, but Jessica intervened. Chloe, you wouldn't be unable to eat what Scarlett and I are having, would you? Scarlett chimed in. That's right. Don't worry. These dishes are very good for you. Little sister, why would I ever trick you? Chloe wanted to cry. She'd been careless. She should have looked at the menu first. But it was too late now. She couldn't back down. Oh, is that so? Well, if you two can eat it, then of course I won't have a problem. The great Joyoung conflict had reached a stalemate. Neither side had gained an advantage. It was a draw. Now, the women's attention turned in unison to Lena on. Chloe's eyes were wide as she took a sip of tea to clear her throat. Missin, when my brother hired you for this film, did you happen to run into Leo Flynn? The women already had a general idea, but they needed to hear it from a source. Lena nodded and picked up the thread Chloe had offered. Yes, he came to the set. He initially wanted to audition for the male lead. Lena gave them the gist of what had happened. Well, they all thought. Asher was still the Asher they knew. He hadn't suddenly decided to make a movie for fun. It was all because of the damn plot. And this Leo Flynn was utterly shameless. A complete animal driven by his baser instincts. The women listened, speechless. The conversation naturally shifted to the content of the film, which was what they were most curious about. Is this movie legit? Seeing that she couldn't evade the question, Lena forced a wry smile and gave them a simple rundown of the movie's plot. She strategically omitted the events of the previous day. As long as she kept quiet and Asher's inner thoughts weren't exposed, no one would know until the movie came out. Given the powerful status of everyone in the room, revealing the plot wouldn't cause any real trouble for the production. The women nodded as they listened. The script sounded interesting, but they hadn't gotten to the heart of what they really wanted to ask. Or perhaps there was nothing more to it. They were about to press further when the cheapao-clad waitress returned, pushing a serving cart. Ladies, your food has arrived. As she spoke, she began placing the dishes on the table, her eyes filled with a mixture of curiosity and disbelief. She glanced at the women, all of them goddesses. Why do they have such heavy tastes? After setting down the last dish, she said, The soup is almost ready. I'll bring it out shortly. With that, she pushed the empty cart and left. The aroma of the food soon filled the room. It was intoxicating. Just the smell alone was enough to make their mouths water. If they hadn't seen the dishes themselves, they might have already picked up their chopsticks and started eating. Chloe, Serafina, and Lena felt their scalps tingle. Forget about eating it. They didn't even dare to move. Even Scarlett and Jessica, who had been mentally prepared, felt a wave of revulsion wash over them as they saw the food. Goosebumps erupted on their skin. Jessica forced a smile, picked up a plate from in front of Scarlett, and used her chopsticks to place a few insects on it. That's right, insects. Fried grasshoppers. And not just grasshoppers. There were scorpions, bee pupae, silkworm pupae, spiders, and water beetles. It wasn't a feast. It was an insect banquet. A bug buffet. Placing the plate back in front of Scarlett, Jessica's voice trembled slightly. Little sister, go on, try some. You said it was very nourishing. You must have eaten it often to be so accustomed to it. Scarlett froze, her own smile stiffening. Not to be outdone, she took Jessica's plate and piled some water beetles onto it. Of course, big sister, these dishes may not look like much, but they're delicious. This one is a famous delicacy from Guangzhou, a well-known snack. This restaurant has been here for a long time, and the chef's skills are top-notch. There's no way they'd cheat customers like us. Forget people. A dog would take one look at this and shake its head. When they had ordered, their goal was to gross each other out. But a picture on a menu was one thing. Seeing the real thing laid out before them was a whole other level of visual assault. Not only had they succeeded in disgusting each other, but they had also dragged Chloe, Serafina, and Lena into their mess. The fried insects, cooked with special techniques and just the right amount of spices, smelled incredible. The spices didn't overpower the natural flavor. But the sight of the bugs, some on their backs with their legs in the air, others lying face down, was a different story. The aroma was tempting, but the reality was a definite no-go. Lena felt her skin crawl. Her hand trembled as she picked up her water glass and took a sip, trying to appear calm. Serafina, the Ice Queen CEO, was on the verge of breaking. The sight of the plump, white bee pupae piled on top of each other made her instinctively picture them squirming. The thought alone was enough to make her shudder. Chloe felt the same. For now, they would remain silent observers, watching the two witches battle it out. Jessica knew her opponent was all talk. She was probably just as disgusted as she was. So, she picked up the teapot, poured herself some tea, and said, "Little sister, you're absolutely right. These dishes are very nourishing, full of protein. It's obvious they're perfect for you. Otherwise, how could you have developed the way you have?" Scarlett understood the jab perfectly. "I have my assets because I'm capable. Are you jealous? You didn't lay a good foundation when you were young, and now all you can do is stare with envy, right?" She chuckled and played along. "Big sister, I think you're the one who needs nourishing this time. Look at you, you starve yourself so thin. What man will want a bag of bones?" After a pause, Scarlett's tone shifted, her gaze sharp. "Don't tell me. You ordered all this just to gross me out, and now you're not going to eat a single bite?" Jessica's smile was beautiful, radiant even. If you ignore the occasional twitch at the corner of her mouth, it would have been perfect. "Of course I'm going to eat. I just saw that you ordered first, which means you must be familiar with these dishes. You must have experience. So come on, you eat one first and show me how it's done." "What? Eat a water beetle? Are you out of your mind?" The water beetles were black and utterly terrifying. Scarlett imagined them swimming in the water, hunting smaller insects, and felt a wave of nausea. "Let's wait for the soup," she said. "These are just appetizers. The soup is the main event. Big sister, you haven't eaten all day, have you? Go on, try some. It smells delicious." Jessica's eyes curved into crescent moons. "I believe you like I believe in Santa Claus. You conniving old witch. You're trying to trick me, aren't? Just come out and say it. Since you haven't started, little sister, it wouldn't be right for me to eat first. Let's wait for the soup together. We can start then." Jessica smiled and countered. The game of conversational chicken they were playing was masterful. Neither of them dared to touch their chopsticks. Chloe and the others certainly weren't going to. As time ticked by, their stomachs began to rumble. Chloe and the others had a sinking feeling that the soup wouldn't be any more normal than the rest of the meal. They'd had enough. They would have to ask the waitress for a completely new set of dishes. Who in their right mind would eat this? Soon, there was a knock on the door. The waitress returned, pushing the serving cart. She subconsciously glanced to the table. Not a single bug had been touched. Well now, aren't these goddesses supposed to be adventurous? Why aren't they eating? The waitress placed 6 bowls of soup on the table, then offered a helpful reminder with a smile. The dishes are all here. Why haven't you started eating?" It was a well-intentioned comment, but she immediately realized her mistake. Customers who ordered these dishes were usually experienced eaters. But this group, they were clearly novices. They looked like they were about to be sick, just looking at it. "Ladies, your dragon and phoenix soup is served, and the rest of your dishes are here. I won't disturb you any longer. Please enjoy." With that, the waitress awkwardly turned and fled. "Thank you," the women said politely, then stared silently at the soup. "Wait, dragon and phoenix soup? It had snake in it." Chloe's mouth twitched. "Damn it, why did I thank her? I should have asked her to replace the entire table. Big mistake. The so-called dragon and phoenix soup was just a fancy name. Wasn't it just chicken and snake soup? When did a chicken become a phoenix? And when did a snake evolve into a dragon?" The person who named this dish was a master of false advertising. Scarlett swallowed hard, her red lips trembling. "Big sister, the soup is here. Drink up. This dragon phoenix soup is very good for you." Jessica's face was a little pale. "Little sister, didn't you say you were very experienced? You must know the proper way to drink this. Come on, show me your skills." Dragon and phoenix soup sounded impressive, but it was just chicken and snake broth. And now it sat on a table covered in bugs. This was the pinnacle of dark cuisine. "Show you my skills? If you're so great, why don't you do it yourself?" Scarlett rolled her eyes. "That was a long time ago. How about this? We drink it together, big sister. No backing out." She was sure Jessica wouldn't be able to do it, and was hoping her opponent would just give up. Those water beetles sound delicious. You should have one first," Jessica sneered. "Playing for time with me? Not a chance." Today, Scarlett had to be the first one to eat those disgusting little bugs. Only then would she consider it a victory. Scarlett was speechless. Water beetles. Those black things. How can anyone eat that? What was the point of dragging this out? "If you don't eat first today, Jessica Young, I will not yield." Otherwise, I'd have called you Big Sister for nothing. Chloe cleared her throat. Big sisters, could I say something? Jessica and Scarlett paused their battle and turned to look at her. Chloe pointed a trembling finger at the food on the table. I don't think any of us have much of an appetite at this restaurant. It's not that we're not hungry, but the food here just doesn't suit our tastes. If the restaurant owner had heard her, he would have burst into tears. Ladies, if you don't want to eat it, don't order it. Order something you can actually stomach. These dishes are for a niche clientele, not for you. But Chloe's excuse was a godsend. The two women's faces lit up. They had been trying to figure out how to escape, and here was their out. Jessica nodded first. Chloe's right. It's not that I'm not hungry. It's just that this food isn't for me. Scarlett, seeing her shamelessness, just pouted and didn't comment. Serafina and Lena breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, the battle was over. The five women reached a silent agreement. They grabbed their bags, stood up, and prepared to leave. Just then, the door swung open with a bang. Anya Kuznetsov walked in. Chloe, oh, you're all here too? Didn't you ask me to come for lunch? Anya looked at them, a hint of confusion on her face. A group of women, bags in hand, all standing up and staring at her. What was going on? Anyone else might have hesitated, but Anya, without a second thought, walked to an empty seat and sat down. Chloe was mortified. They were just about to leave. Anya, your timing is impeccable. She forced a sweet smile. The food here doesn't really agree with us. We were thinking of finding another place. Oh, I see. You're scared. Anya stated flatly, cutting straight to the truth. The women froze. And you're not. That stuff is terrifying. Before they could react, Anya picked up a water beetle and popped it into her mouth. She didn't even remove the head or tail. Just ate a whole. Crunch, crunch. The sound echoed in the silent room. Anya swallowed, a rare, faint smile gracing her usually stoic face. Delicious. Sigh for all. Some things smell bad but taste good. Some things look scary but also taste good. Anya's performance stunned the entire room. The women stared at her as if she were a god. How on earth can you eat that? Aren't you scared? Isn't it creepy? Even if you were an assassin. Oh wait, never mind. Our mistake. Jessica and Scarlett were completely dumbfounded. Anya, are those water beetles really that good? You're not just saying that to trick us into eating them, are you? From the way they were swallowing, it was clear they were curious. They wanted to try something new, but they couldn't overcome their own mental barriers. Anya picked up another water beetle, chewed, and swallowed it as if it were nothing. Crunch, crunch. I'm not that bored. Anya, how is it? Chloe asked, swallowing hard, her eyes wide with a child's curiosity. The other women grimaced, saliva pooling in their mouths. Their expressions were a mixture of shock and morbid curiosity. Anya blinked, looking at them quizzically. Tastes like chicken. It's pretty good. You ordered it, but you're not eating. Is there something wrong with you? Her blunt question made the women stiffen. She might as well have called them all chickens. Anya was the strongest fighter among them, but that was just in combat. In this life, Chloe refused to be outdone again. Anya, do you just pop these little things right in your mouth? Chloe asked, placing a water beetle on her own plate, ready to follow Anya's lead. She knew Anya's personality, and honestly, watching Anya eat with such relish was making her a little hungry. Wait, that's just my personal way of eating it, Anya said. She picked up a water beetle with her fingers and began peeling off its wings. This is the common way. If you don't remove the wings, they can get stuck in your teeth. It's a Cantonese delicacy. Water beetles are very rich in protein and apparently quite expensive. But if you want to eat them, you just buy them. After her brief science lesson, she popped another one in her mouth. Crunch, crunch. Anya's eyes narrowed slightly, a look of pure enjoyment on her face. She opened her eyes, revealing a row of perfectly white teeth. Chloe, if your teeth are strong and you don't mind getting things stuck in them, you could try my method. Chloe held the water beetle, listening with a stunned expression. She then gave a weak laugh. I think I'll remove the wings. Taking a deep breath, she mimicked Anya, peeling off the wings. Then she closed her eyes tightly and tossed the water beetle into her mouth. Here goes nothing. Crunch, crunch. It was salty, peppery, and crispy. Chloe's face, which had been turning green, suddenly relaxed. The unexpected flavor was amazing. Not too salty, not too bland. Eating a water beetle was actually a delightful experience. Gulp. Chloe swallowed, looking at Anya with wide, surprised eyes. Anya, you were right. It's really delicious. Anya nodded and continued eating. If you like it, have some more. Chloe made an okay sign. You got it. Watching the two of them eat without a care in the world, the remaining four women looked at each other. What was happening? They were actually eating it? Chloe, if you're being threatened by that assassin, just blink. Your big sisters will save you. But after watching for a moment, it was clear Chloe wasn't being coerced. They were genuinely enjoying their meal. The four women sat back down. Scarlett, is it really that good? Jessica, they must be acting. Just looking at those things is scary. Lena, should I try one? Just to be polite. Serafina, I'll eat one. No, half of one. If it tastes bad, I can just spit it out. Their minds were racing. Scarlett was the first to act. After all, Jessica had piled a fair few on her plate. She picked up a water beetle with delicate fingers, peeled off the wings as Anya had shown, and held it to her nose to smell it. It smelled fine, like enticing barbecue. If Chloe can eat it, why can't I? She thought. Never underestimate a determined woman. Crunch. Tasted like grilled chicken. Scarlett was stunned. This is completely different from what I imagined. It's surprisingly good. Seeing Scarlett claim the third victory, Jessica couldn't possibly admit defeat. A moment later, she too was eating, her reaction the same as the others. With four of them now converted, Serafina and Lena looked at each other, then followed suit. As they ate, Anya continued her deadpan lecture. The benefits of eating water beetles are numerous. They're good for the skin, they have anti-aging properties, and they can make your complexion rosy and flawless. She recited the facts like she was reading from a textbook. The women listened mesmerized. Chloe blinked her big eyes, her mouth forming an O. Anya, I never knew you knew so much. Did you used to eat these for your skin? Anya swallowed a mouthful and shook her head. No. Lena asked, then why? Anya looked at the curious faces around her and answered calmly. Because they're delicious. The women. The reason was completely unassailable. After hearing about all the benefits, they had been tempted. As women, they understood the appeal. But this Anya, they really couldn't figure her out. Hey, that water beetle is mine. Don't touch it. Little sister, you thought these things were disgusting, didn't you? I'm just helping you out. What's wrong with that? Heh, are you seriously going to steal a water beetle from my bowl? Of course. Don't be so stingy. Here, have a silkworm pupa to calm you down. Jessica and Scarlett, the two who had been adamantly refusing to eat, had fallen victim to the undeniable truth. It was delicious. The other women were the same. A fierce competition began. It was as if they hadn't eaten in days, and soon they were shamelessly fighting over the food. Under Anya's leadership, the terrifying insect banquet had transformed into a simple, hearty meal. The table of insects was devoured by the six women. Their primary goal for visiting the set, to find out what Asher was up to, had been achieved. Chloe, you're not coming back with me? Scarlett asked, surprised. Chloe shook her head with a smile. You go on ahead, big sis Scarlett. Anya and I still have a few things to talk about. The other four women exchanged glances. A private chat? Was there some secret they couldn't share at the table? So much for their newfound sisterly bond. All right, Scarlett said. With the oil market crashing, she had things under control. All that was left was to look at wedding venues and pick out cars. She knew that trying to drag Asher along would be useless. The little wolf was probably too scared to even see her right now. Besides, she needed to supervise the final stages of her plan. If Asher wouldn't go, she could just ask Chloe in a couple of days. If she didn't like the options, she could just buy new ones. We'll head out too. Then, Chloe, Jessica said with a wave. Bye, big sis Jessica. Bye-bye. Chloe replied with a sweet smile, waving back. Then Jessica and Serafina left together. Chloe blinked, a confused expression on her face as she mumbled to herself. No way. When did Jessica and Serafina get so close? Don't tell me they've formed an alliance, just like in a last life. In her past life, Jessica and Serafina had indeed allied first, followed by her and Scarlett. Later, more heroines had joined, forming an anti-Dragon's Den coalition. But this life was different. Chloe had set the board. With Anya and Cassie Lee on her side, the game had changed completely. Not to mention, she still held a powerful card, Victor Stone. With Victor and Anya working together, they could probably kill Leo Flynn. Even if something went wrong, they could still severely injure him, making it easy to finish him off later. The only reason Chloe hesitated was simple. She hadn't won Asher over yet. Leo was no longer her only obstacle. Now it was the other heroines. There were too many wolves and not enough meat. She couldn't exactly chop her brother into pieces and hand out a part to everyone, could she? After leaving the restaurant, Lena and also departed, as she had scenes to film that afternoon. Only Chloe and Anya remained. Chloe, what did you want to talk to me about? I need to get back to your brother soon. Chloe had wanted to take her to a cafe for afternoon tea, but Anya shook her head. I have to get back quickly. Chloe was surprised. Why was Anya in such a hurry today? Did something happen to Asher? Anya, is my brother in some kind of trouble? Anya thought for a moment. Not really trouble, I took care of it. What? Chloe's voice rose. Anya might have made it sound easy, but given her skills, of course it would be. But would Leo Flynn send just anyone? Chloe's eyes grew dangerous. Who did it? Anya remained silent, her face calm. You can always trust the bodyguard hired by Asher Vance. Chloe's anger didn't subside. Just because she couldn't kill Leo now didn't mean she couldn't collect some interest. No matter who it was connected to him. Anya, can you locate Leo Flynn for me? If a dog bites you, you can't bite it back. But you can hit it with a shovel, right? Chloe said, her voice cold and devoid of its usual sweetness. Asher was her bottom line. Her reverse scale? Touch him, and you die. Even though Anya was there to protect him, the fact that Leo had made a move was unforgivable. Anya said, Chloe, you can't beat Leo. And if you send too many people, it will attract attention. Her tone was flat, but it was a tacit approval of Chloe's plan. Chloe smiled. Anya, if I asked you to go beat up Leo, or even kill him, would you do it? Anya considered it. If it's your request, the most I would do is teach him a lesson. Chloe was taken aback. Not kill him. That was like letting a tiger back into the mountains. But Anya's next words cleared her doubts. If it were Asher's request, I could carry out a mission to assassinate Leo at any time. Chloe breathed a sigh of relief. So Anya wasn't turning on them. She thought of Anya as a sister, but in Anya's heart, Asher's position was clearly higher. The comparison was infuriating. Chloe hated being second to Asher. She wanted to be on top of him, in every sense of the word. She forced a smile. Anya, it's not time for you to be exposed yet. Wait until the dragon's den is weakened. Don't worry, I have the right person for the job. Anya blinked. Victor Stone. Chloe's smile widened. You're so smart, Anya. All right, I'll have someone track him down and send you his location. Meanwhile, at a well-known orthopedic hospital in New York, Kevin Gao's arm had been set and put in a cast. Mr. Gao, you can't leave yet. The doctor said you need another checkup just to be safe, a beautiful assistant in a business suit said, blocking his way. Kevin pouted. I'm out of candy. The assistant understood immediately. Wait here, I'll be right back. I want the lemon flavor. Of course, Mr. Gao. The moment the assistant left, Kevin's phone rang. He picked it up from the table and glanced at the caller ID. The sight made him jump, and the phone clattered to the floor. Why is it her again? Kevin's face went pale. It was Nemesis, Anya Kuznetsov. Just seeing the name was enough to make a kid like him wet his pants. The phone kept ringing. Kevin bent down to pick it up. The movement sent a sharp pain through his casted arm. Ack, he cried out, but he managed to grab the phone. He answered, his voice trembling. Hello. Nemesis, what do you want? Anya's calm voice came through the line. I want Leo Flynn's current location. Kevin froze. So, you're not even pretending anymore? You're going straight for the king? It made sense. A master of her caliber wouldn't work for someone else forever. He swallowed hard, the pain in his arm suddenly forgotten. Nemesis, when are we making our move? I can provide you with advanced weapons. Poison too. After it's done, you take the lion's share. I'll just take a small cut. There were plenty of treasures and resources in the dragon's den. It was time to make the Dragon King feel the same despair. Anya ignored his rambling. Send me Leo's location within the hour. Kevin was all compliance. Yes, of course, my Lady Dragon Queen. I'll get it done right away. What did you call me? Anya's voice turned ice cold. Oh God, is this how it ends? Is my family line finished? I haven't even developed my battle armor yet. I haven't gotten married. The Gao family can't end with me. Kevin was on the verge of tears. And nothing. Dragon Queen, was it? How did you come up with that title? Anya asked, seemingly intrigued. Kevin offered his reasoning. Well, Lady Nemesis, aren't you going to kill the Dragon King? Once he's dead, won't you be the new Dragon King? Anya seemed to understand. Oh, I see. Kevin breathed a sigh of relief. He was safe. It seems you have a death wish. Anya's voice, like a devil's whisper, came through the phone, calm and serene. Kevin swore this woman was a demon, more terrifying than any demon. You can't just bully a kid like this. Tears welled up in his eyes again. Stop terrorizing children. Sir, I bought the candy you wanted. The female assistant walked into the room to find Kevin pecking at a laptop keyboard with one hand. He was biting his lip, sweat beading on his forehead. Mr. Gao, you're injured. You should be resting, she said with concern. You think I don't want to rest? Kevin cried internally. I want to rest more than anyone. But if I don't get this done, is that woman going to let me go? My life is so hard. Unwrap the lollipop for me, he ordered with a sigh, his fingers never stopping. Thank God Anya had only broken one of his arms. If both were gone, he'd have to type with his feet. The assistant did as she was told. After a while, Kevin's eyes, glued to the screen, lit up with relief. Finally found you. At a high-end cafe in Soho, a woman in a sharp business suit laughed. "Mr. Flynn, you're so funny." Leo Flynn's hand rested on her slim waist. "Ha, I'm more than just funny. I have other qualities you'll discover later." The woman was an 8 out of 10. Not a goddess, but she would do for now. "Mr. Flynn, you're so bad," she said, feigning shyness. She might look like a respectable professional from a nearby office, but her real work was on the side. For the right price, she'd open her arms to anyone. She spent her days dressing up and frequenting places like this, hoping to land a rich man. Leo's expensive watch and the sports car he'd driven up and fit the bill perfectly. "Nice guys finish last," Leo said with a roguish grin, giving her waist a gentle squeeze. "Isn't it true that bad boys are the only ones who can win a girl's heart?" The woman nodded coyly. "Bad boy or not, if you were broke, I'd slap you in it next week." Leo smirked. He knew exactly what kind of woman she was, but he didn't care. He was just looking for some fun, not a real relationship. "Darling, let's go hit up a few department stores." He knew most women were materialistic, especially this one. The formula was simple. Flash some cash, take her shopping, and then it was a straight shot to a hotel room. At the mention of department stores, the woman's grip on his arm tightened, and her tone became more intimate. "Sweetheart, let's go now." Leo scoffed internally. So materialistic. But she'd do for now. "All right, let's go." He continued to hold her close as they left. As they walked out of the cafe, they saw a massive man standing just outside the door. He was built like a small giant. It was Victor Stone. Victor had been about to enter the cafe when his target appeared. Leo frowned. He hated having to make way for people. But given the man's size, he decided to let it go. "Friend, did you step out with your left foot or your right foot first?" Victor asked in a deep, rumbling voice. The woman giggled. This big guy had to be an idiot. But Leo's expression changed instantly. "Buddy, are you looking for trouble?" Before he could finish, a fist the size of a cannonball came flying at him. Leo's ancient martial arts training kicked in instantly. He met the punch with his own. Bang! Leo stumbled back several steps, his arm numb from the impact. The woman screamed in terror. "You can go," Victor said to her. "I don't hit women." Given permission, the woman fled without a second thought. This handsome rich guy had clearly made some powerful enemies. She was just looking for a sugar daddy, not a death sentence. Watching the woman he'd spent all morning charming run away, Leo's face darkened. "You're dead." He didn't care who sent this man. All he wanted now was to get his pride back. He was the Dragon King. He couldn't lose face in broad daylight. Bam! Bam! BM! As the protagonist, Leo was powerful. He and Victor were evenly matched, trading blows back and forth. Victor had initially planned to go easy on him, skeptical of Chloe's claims. He'd assumed Leo was just a bit stronger than a regular bodyguard. But he had been wrong. This guy was strong. Victor got serious. Their fight soon attracted a crowd of onlookers. "Whoa, what's the beef here? These guys are going at it hard. Did I hear that right?" When their fists connected, it sounded like a firecracker going off. "Oh my God, are they kung fu masters?" "Coach, I won't learn those moves." "Coach, get out. Just because you paid your tuition doesn't mean you can learn this." In this day and age, a one-on-one street fight was prime entertainment. It wasn't every day you saw a spectacle like this. A few people pulled out their phones and started recording, posting the fight to their social media. As the fight wore on, Leo began to tire. At this early stage in his development, he was no match for Victor. Victor was a support character, destined to be the protagonist's powerful ally. Of course he was strong. "Dude, that's enough," Leo said, panting. He had a few bruises, one swelling on his lip. Victor had taken some hits too, but his massive frame was built to take a beating. Victor had no intention of stopping. He kept aiming for Leo's face. Chloe had given him specific instructions. After seeing Leo in person and catching a few of his arrogant smirks during the fight, Victor understood why. "Stop! Stop! Please, stop fighting!" the cafe owner yelled, running out of the shop. But Leo and Victor were lost in the heat of battle. They didn't hear him. The owner's face twitched. "If you want to fight, fine, but take it somewhere else. Don't do it in front of my door. You're ruining my business."